Good afternoon. I almost said good morning. Good afternoon. Welcome to the live. To oh, I still need to mute myself. Okay. All right. Let me get myself together. Good afternoon. Welcome to the live. It is day 17 of Diddy's federal trial. And today we are picking up where we left off far as witnesses are concerned with I've heard her name pronounced Bana and I've heard her name pronounced Bana. I'm not sure which one is correct. So today I'm going to call her Bana. Let's hope that's right. Uh, n- no disrespect if it's not. I just don't know which one is right. So she's back on the stand this morning. Check out on my channel. I did a shorter video, like 5 minutes, talking about the testimony she provided yesterday. I included some feedback also across social media as it relates to her testimony. In a nutshell, I thought her testimony yesterday was rough. I thought she seemed a bit disconnected, discombobulated. She seemed not quite all there. Meaning she said she didn't remember a lot. She said she did not remember things she had actually answered earlier for the prosecutors. At one point, she didn't realize what day it was. So it was a lot. Um, but there is a video on my channel, a shorter video, like 5 minutes, just talking about that. So check it out. Again, before we jump into the testimony, as always, welcome to my channel. Please thumbs up the video, drop a comment. And if you're not a subscriber already, please consider subscribing. I would appreciate the support. So let's jump into the testimony. We are, again, Bana is on the stage, is on the stand right now. We're expecting that we might start the testimony today of Jane Doe. This is another person using a pseudonym who's testifying in this case. The court has put a lot more precautions, many more precautions in place to try to protect her anonymity because that didn't go so well. I think with them trying to protect Mia's anonymity. So we're anticipating the start of her testimony today. And from what I understand, it is supposed to last a few days. One other thing before we jump into the testimony, I saw this morning on a video from Tisa Tells that she said in the courtroom that the prosecutors referred to Christina Coram, also known as KK, Diddy's chief assistant, as a co-conspirator. Just as in an exchange between the lawyers and the judge, whatever was going on. I think this is well before the jury was in. We have heard KK's name come up a lot. She and D-Rock are probably in competition for whose name is mentioned the most. So we felt strongly that either she was going to be named as a co-conspirator, similar to what's the lady, something Maxwell, who was Epstein's right hand, who's in prison right now, by the way, because KK appears to be who that lady was for Epstein. KK appears to be that person for Diddy. She was either going to be named a co-conspirator or she had already cut a deal with the prosecution. So we don't know. Again, this is just reporting from Tisa Tells this morning that that's what they called her in court. I could not find any information where the prosecutors have actually filed any kind of paperwork at all naming her officially as a co-conspirator. So we'll see if that is to come. Um, it'll be interesting if they choose to name her co-conspirator. Don't know if that would mean she didn't agree to be a witness for the prosecution, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, so let's jump in. Bana is on the stand right now. She is still under cross from the defense, and just making sure you all are on the right screen with me. Okay. So the judge says, "All rise, the jurors. We have." Okay, that's talking about lunch. Y'all don't care about that. Okay, the defense attorney says, "What is this a photo of?" Bana says, "Drugs." "You sent this photo to Cassie?" "Yes." "Now, what's this?" Some type of drugs." "How many types?" "I can't tell." "You're still doing drugs with Cassie on May 31st, 2016, right?" Bana says, "Yes." "Just before this, Mr. Combs threatened your life." Bana said, "Yes." "You weren't scared to continue dealing with Cassie?" Bana said, "I guess not." That's funny. She's like, "Well, I did, so I guess not." Bana testified yesterday that Diddy got really close up on her face, got really close to her face and said, "I am the devil and I will kill you." Now, I think that happened before he allegedly dangled her from a 17th floor balcony. Okay, let's hop back into the testimony. Uh, okay, let's go back. So the defense said, "You weren't scared to continue dealing with Cassie, after Mr. Combs threatened your life?" And she said, "I guess not." "Okay, you said Mr. Combs groped your breast." The prosecutor objects. The judge said, "Ask again." Defense attorney says, "Mr. Tyrone said Mr. Combs groped your breast. True?" Bonner said some of the things he wrote were not true. And Mr. Tyrone was Bonner's lawyer who filed the initial civil suit for her against Diddy. Defense, you fired him and hired new civil lawyers and they drafted a lawsuit. You reviewed it? She said, "To the best of my ability." Okay, Bonner, don't start now. I was hoping you'd be better today now because, I know this is a lot. You've been through a lot, allegedly with Diddy. You on them drugs hard. But this is a lot. You don't want to be here. You didn't want to testify. So I was hoping, maybe you got some of those nerves out yesterday and you'd be a little bit better today. All right, let's keep going. Defense attorney, look at this document. Only for the parties, ma'am. Isn't it true that your lawyer, Mr. Tyrone, alleged for the first time sexual assault, and although you knew it was untrue, you began repeating it? Bonner said, "Can you rephrase that?" Excuse me. And the defense says, "Mr. Tyrone alleged that Mr. Combs sexually assaulted you, right?" Bonner said, "I can't speak for him." What? Oh, Bonner. Was it in the lawsuit he filed for you or not? Didn't you just say it was in there? And what? Defense. You speak for you. You kept repeating the lie about the grabbing your breast. Bonner says, "Can you restate it?" Defense attorney says, "Okay." Defense attorney, you continued accusing Mr. Combs of sexually assaulting you, even though you knew it was not true. Bonner said, "It's really hard to commit to the whole sentence." Defense attorney, you knew sexual assault was the only way you could sue. Um, she says, "I don't recall." See this girl. See this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. This is just she's just continuing with that same stuff that she was doing yesterday. She's gonna mess this case up. Come on, all right? Because let me just stick to the testimony. Defense attorney, you say you were screaming. Are you aware of anyone else calling the police? She said, "I don't think so." You didn't go to an urgent care? She said, "I did not." Defense attorney, you didn't tell the chiropractor what happened? She said, "No." Why not? I was scared. Defense attorney, okay, the girlfriend, what's her name? Sarah O'Friday? Offered, whatever that meant. Sarah. Defense attorney, full name, please. I think Sarah Sedell, something like that. It was a while ago. Girl, she don't even remember. She don't remember nothing. She don't remember who this girl was, who was her ex-girlfriend. She can't remember her name. She is really just picking up where she left off yesterday. Okay, let's go further. Defense attorney, you got the government. You got the government. She was Friday, and that she wouldn't know anything. What in the world did this journalist mean right here? You got the government. She was Friday, and that she wouldn't know anything. Bana said, "I'm not sure." Defense attorney, on October 4th, 2016, didn't you attend Mr. Combs' concert? I don't remember the date, but yes, I went. Okay. Judge said, just ask Mr. Westmoreland. The judge is probably frustrated. So we're going to have to help Bana out a little bit because she up here struggling again today. We're going to have to help her out a little bit, okay? Westmoreland, the defense says, may we read the text? Judge says, proceed. Defense, you read Bana and I'll read Cass. You read Bana and I'll read Cass is what he's advising Bana. She said, I don't know what I wrote. The defense attorney is reading as if he's Cassie, and he said, Coolio, what time? Love you. Thank you for yesterday. Defense attorney, you're asking Cass if Puff would like a sweatshirt 2 weeks after you allege he held you over a balcony. You're asking Cass if Puff would like a sweatshirt 2 weeks after you allege he held you over the balcony. She said, we are trying to be cool. Defense attorney said, repeat that. We had the FaceTime call and we were trying to be cool. Defense attorney, isn't it true that you continued to see Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura because Mr. Combs did not cause you those injuries? Bana said part of that statement is true and part I can't agree with. Defense attorney, you see your phone number on this? She said yes. This text is defense attorney. This text is from October 15th, 2016 from Mr. Combs to you. She said yes. Mr. Combs wrote, if you're going to do K with her, at least have her back. Do you remember receiving this? She said yes. Okay, I'm assuming K is ketamine. Defense attorney, you remember the Bad Boy reunion tour? You started on it but didn't complete it. She said maybe one or two. Defense attorney, September 25th, 2016. The tour was at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. True? Bana said, I'm not aware, not so sure on dates. Defense attorney, he was on stage with Lil Kim. Bana said, I don't know. Defense attorney said, in that Harlem salute to achieve, and at the Harlem salute to achievement, prosecutor objects, and then there's a sidebar. Okay. Defense attorney, is this the Trump International Hotel stay of Frank Black? Includes September 26, 2016, in-room breakfast for $231, you see? Bana says yes. Defense attorney, you agree one person can't be in two places at the same time? Bana said, that's hard to say. Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Defense attorney, you told the jurors Mr. Combs injured you in LA on September 26, 2016, correct? Prosecutor said, may we have a sidebar? The judge says, yes, you may. Okay. Defense attorney, Mr. Combs did not cause you the injuries in the photo you provided with metadata saying September 26, 2016. She said, I can't agree with that. Defense attorney, a person can't be in LA and New York at the same time. She said, my answer is the same. Get this woman off the stand. Defense attorney, no further questions. Judge, redirect. All right, so now the prosecutor is getting ready to ask some questions. Did you ever review the notes taken at your interview? Bana said no. Did you give Cassie permission to put your name in her complaint? Bana said no. After she filed, I hit her up to tell her of mistakes. Tiffany wasn't there. Prosecutor, when you filed your lawsuit, was its report of the balcony the same or different from Cassie's? She said different. Is what you said today your best recollection? She said yes. The demand letters of your first lawyer, did you write them? She said no. The demand letter that said Mr. Combs squeezed your breast so hard you had bruises, had you said that? She said no, ma'am. Prosecutor, do you demonstrate with hand motions? Please do. He started at my armpit. Prosecutor, were they on your breast? Yes. Y'all. I'm sorry. This one I can't buy. Prosecutor, do you yourself know the exact date of the balcony incident? No. Why not? It was a while ago. Prosecutor, any doubt Mr. Combs held you off the balcony? No doubt. Nothing further. Recross, and the defense says yes. They're not going to let her go yet. Defense attorney, in a follow-up interview with the government, you gave them pictures of your leg injury with metadata, true? She said, I gave them pictures. When you sued Mr. Combs, you weren't rich? She said, I was not. You saw this as a chance to make $10 million, true? The judge would review, is what Bana responded. Defense attorney, it means a lot to you to become a millionaire and soon, right? Bana said, no, I am here for justice. Defense attorney, meaning money, nothing further. The judge thanks you, Mr. Bana. Is there an exhibit? Publish it. Okay. We object. The defense is objected to an exhibit being published. The judge, so after the break, jurors, there will be food for you in here. All rise. Okay. Let's see if they are actually on break right now. Somebody said, I need a break. Somebody said, Westmoreland put up with numbers. Do they normally feed a jury in the trial? What is this rule about? I don't even know why they're breaking right now. They started court late today. They started, I think, around 11 o'clock. The jury probably didn't get in 11:30. So I'm not really sure why they're breaking right now, though it's probably just a 10-minute break. Yeah, I don't know why they're taking a break. But so far, from what we've heard from Bana this morning, y'all, she's back on that same stuff she was on yesterday. These answers that she's given, especially when they ask her, can a person be in two places at the same time? And she answered something like she didn't know. What did she say? Let's go back up and see if we can find that. Because I was like, girl, what are you saying? I was hoping that she would be better today, after how she was just fumbling so bad yesterday. Okay, let's see. Here it is. Mr. Combs did not cause you those injuries in the photo you provided with the metadata saying September 26, 2016. She said, I can't agree with that. They said, the defense said, a person can't be in LA and New York at the same time. She said, my answer is the same. Okay, because it was something before that. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Hold on. Let me. Okay, this here it is, right here. The defense attorney said, is this Trump International Hotel stay of Frank Black included September 26, 2016, in-room breakfast for $231? You see? Bana said yes. Defense attorney, you agree one person can't be in two places at the same time. Bana said it's hard to say. She said it's hard to say. Y'all, we talk about Diddy, right? Now, I know Kid Cudi called him, said he was standing at the window looking like a Marvel supervillain, and that was funny. But he's actually not. He has not cloned himself. He can't be in two places at one time. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't have any problem believing. I don't have any problem believing that Diddy dangled her off that balcony. I don't have any problem believing that. But her testimony is all over the place. She was all over the place yesterday. She's all over the place again today. She's answering this question and she's saying that if the defense says you agree one person can't be in two places at the same time, she said that's hard to say. Now, what are we supposed to do with that? What are we supposed to do with that? I mean, if I didn't know any better, I would think this woman is still partaking in the drugs that she used to be addicted to and also sell. I yeah, she's just it's just not credible to me. Let's flip over and see what's being said on the CNN side while we wait for another update while they're on break. And I'm gonna share that page with you all too. Just 1 second. 1 second. This is already. I was hopeful for Bana. I was so hopeful for her. We were rooting for you. We were rooting for you. And oh my gosh, you coming here like this again today. Mm-mm-mm. Bana. Okay, so let's see what the CNN updates. Bana shown text with drug photos. Okay, that was pretty much covered in what we read on X. Defense attorney asked Bana, witnessed the moment Sean Diddy Combs allegedly dangling her over a balcony, which has been central to Bana's testimony and Combs' federal crime. Bana said she heard Ventura's voice during the incident, but said she couldn't speak for her. The defense attorney suggested that Bana had told prosecutors several times that Ventura saw the incident. She said, I spoke to them, but again, I don't recall. You don't recall. I don't even know why this woman is on the stand. Bana testified that she continued to see Diddy occasionally after the balcony incident in late September 2016. The defense attorney asked if she was afraid to be around Combs, why? And she said, I kept my distance. Bana confirmed that she went to one of Combs' concerts on October 4th, 2016. I don't think I was around him most of the time. She don't think, because she can't remember. She also confirmed that she went to a club that Combs rented out the following day on October 5th. The defense asked if she wore her neck brace. The defense asked if she wore her neck brace to the private party. She said, I probably should have, but didn't. So the defense is throwing shade right there. The defense has said, first of all, you're lying about all of this that you're saying, and you can't remember anything. You have answered this morning when we show you that Diddy could not be where you said he was because he was in New York. You can't be in New York and LA at the same time. They asked you, do you think that's possible? She said, it's hard to say. If they don't get this woman off the stand, okay. I'm just reading CNN updates now until we get an update from inside the court. So the defense is pressing Bana over her continued friendship with Cassie and proximity to Diddy in the time after he allegedly held her over a 17-story balcony. The defense attorney pointed out that in the weeks following the alleged attack, Bana texted Cassie offering to get Combs a hoodie. We were trying to be cool, Bana said. According to text messages from October 2016 between Cassie and Bana, she also agreed to sleep over at Cassie's apartment about 2 weeks after the balcony incident took place. Isn't it true that you continued to hang out with Mr. Combs and you continued to spend the night at Miss Ventura's house because Mr. Combs did not cause you those injuries? And Bana replied, part of that statement is correct, and part of that statement I can't agree with. Well, which parts? Okay. Combs messaged Bana about friends stopping each other from making mistakes. Diddy sent Brianna Bana a message saying that friends should try to stop each other from making mistakes when they get high together. Diddy, you a fine one to be giving these schoolhouse rock lessons. Okay, if you're gonna do K with her, at least have her back, Combs wrote, according to the message read in court. Defense attorney asked Bronner if she believed Combs wanted her to stop using so many drugs with Cassie. She said, I can't speak for him. You sure can't, girl. Because at this moment, you can't even speak for yourself. So you're right. You're right. You are absolutely right to answer that way. Let's see, where did we land? Let's see, where are we? Why do I feel like I'm going back further than were we this far back? Okay, no. Let me go back up just a second. Y'all pardon me. I'm trying to get to where we were. Let's just this part here is the part that we were tripping on earlier. You agree that one person can't be in two places at the same time? She said, in theory, yeah, and I can't answer that one. Like, what are you talking about? Defense attorney Bana to confirm that Mr. Combs did not cause the injuries that you showed. I can't agree with you, Bana said. And her final question, the defense pressed further saying, you came in here and you lied to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. She said, I can't agree with you. Oh, Lord. Let's see. Bana testified that she and Cassie had only one conversation about Cassie's lawsuit before it was filed in November 2023. This is also the lawsuit, by the way, that she said Cassie did not get the details right as it relates to the incident involving her. Cassie asked if she could name her in the complaint in connection with the balcony incident, according to Bana. Bana said she did not know what information would be included in Cassie's suit. Bana said that at some point after Ventura's lawsuit was filed, she told Ventura that some details about the balcony incident were incorrect. Bana testified that during the conversation, she told Cassie exactly what happened to me. I don't even know what to think about that, because this lady cannot remember stuff on the stand right now, and so I don't know. The assistant U.S. attorney asked Bana if she had testified truthfully to the best of her recollection about the alleged incident with Diddy on Cassie Ventura's balcony. Bana said yes and acknowledged she doesn't remember every single detail, but said she'll never forget some parts of the altercation. Well, what I would like in part is for you to just acknowledge that a person can't be in New York and LA at the same time. Because she is making people not be able, I don't know how the jury is perceiving it, but let's say her balcony story is true, and I have no reason to believe it's not true. All this other stuff and how she's like answering questions in court yesterday and today, she might be causing some people on the jury to give all of her testimony a side eye from a credibility perspective. Another prosecution witness who seems to be more so helping the defense. Okay, so they said, do you yourself know the exact date of when the balcony incident occurred? She said, no. Why do you not know the exact date? She said, because it was a while ago. In closing, the redirect examination, the prosecutor asked Bana, regardless of the exact date, do you have any doubt that Mr. Combs held you up on that balcony on the 17th floor? She said, I have no doubt. Okay. The defense briefly addressed Bana one more time before her testimony concluded, with attorney Westmoreland asking if her lawsuit against Combs is an opportunity to become a millionaire. She said, I can't agree with that. Westmoreland pointed out that Bana is seeking $10 million in her civil suit and asked if Bana cared about becoming a millionaire. She said, I care about justice. And they don't add it here, but the defense, I think, said something like "and money," and then said no more questions. Let me see if I could go to that right quick, because it did not. That was not the last statement. Let me just go quickly to the text on X. Oh, okay. So when she said, "I'm here for justice," the defense said meaning money, and then they said nothing further. hmm So that's how they left that. Okay, so the jury was dismissed until 1:30. Let's see, what time are we at right now? It's 1:11. So that gives us a little time. I'm going to hop over to, let me share my screen. I'm going to hop over to the Washington Post and see what they're sharing on their site. And then we'll probably go over to Law and Crime Network, as we've been doing, like on lunch breaks, just to see what they're saying about what they're seeing in the courtroom. And by then, hopefully, they will be back in court. All right, so just 1 second. All right, so they said tensions have been simmering ahead of the expected testimony from the anonymous witness, Jane. Now, we don't know who Jane is. Some people were wondering if Jane is actually going to be Gina. Um, we don't know. But Jane, a former girlfriend of Sean Combs, who claims he abused her. The judge has warned those in the courtroom that they are not to document the next victim in any notes or images. Last I heard, there were at least three YouTube content creators who have been banned from court, because with Mia, who was also testifying under a pseudonym, I think on their videos they used her real name and pictures of her and stuff like that. So I guess the judge is just trying to tighten up to minimize that risk. I don't think there's any way for the court to actually protect anybody's confidentiality or identity during a trial like this that's so high profile. Even if they had them behind some type of screen where you could not see them, I still don't think that would help, because this is such a high profile case. As this witness talks about different events they attended, different people who were at these events, uh, you know, key dates. People are going to go directly to the internet and they're going to figure out who she is. And in this day and time, that should not be a surprise to anybody. So I think the federal court system might need to rethink how they want to handle witnesses when they really do want their identity to remain a secret from the public. I don't know, because it's, yeah. Okay, but anyway, let's see. Bana, who claimed Sean Jones dangled Sean Combs, dangled her off a ledge at a Los Angeles high rise in 2016. Okay, we went pretty much over that on the stand. Um, okay, we went over that too. I'm just trying to see if they added anything different. Um, And it's interesting here, because even when they were asking her about her attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, or her ex attorney, they said, "Your attorney, Tyrone, started that sexual story, but you kept that even though you knew it was a lie." And she said, "Sorry, it's really hard to commit to the whole sentence because there are parts that are true." We never, from the questioning, we don't know what parts were true, what parts weren't true. The lawyer didn't probe any further on that, so they just left it. Um, Here we have Sean Combs' son, Justin, who walked into the courtroom this morning, and a reporter in the crowd shouted a question. How was his brother Quincy Brown's birthday on Wednesday? He said it was good, Jessica Combs said before striding in the courthouse. Quincy is a very peculiar looking guy to me. I'm not even gonna say I'm just gonna leave that alone. Um, so that's it. That's it. On day 17, Combs' federal trafficking trial, his attorneys continued cross-examining a woman who alleged that the record producer once held her over the railing of a high-rise balcony in a fit of rage. As the defense tries to portray the witness as an untrustworthy drug addict who fabricated her story. Mhm. On Wednesday, Bana testified that she was sleeping over at the home of Combs' then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, when Combs burst in and assaulted her on the balcony, leaving her with cuts, bruises, and mental trauma. Ventura, the prosecution's star witness, previously testified that her 11-year relationship with Combs was a nightmare of beatings, surveillance from his staff, and coercion to have sex with male prostitutes for Combs's pleasure. Another alleged victim is expected to take the stand this week, a woman who, like Ventura, claims Combs abused her in group sex sessions he called freak-offs. She will testify under the alias Jane to protect her privacy. Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges of sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution, and could be sentenced to prison for life if convicted on all counts. His defense has argued that Ventura and Jane enjoyed the freak-offs and that their relationships with him were consensual, if toxic and unorthodox. Well, that is very, 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 very nicely written, and it kind of sums it up. When it comes to these freak-offs, I don't know what evidence the defense might have as it relates to Jane, but as it related to Cassie, they presented a lot of text messages and different communications from her where she was sometimes requesting the freak off. She was saying she wanted one so bad. She was at times setting up the freak offs. Um, there was, we saw messages where Diddy would say, "Hey, what you think? You want to do one? Let me know if you don't want to." So, so the defense showed us all of these messages to demonstrate to us that these freak offs were consensual. The prosecution, on the other hand, has presented information to say no, because he was threatening her at times that if she didn't do the freak off, he would release sex tapes. And, you saw the physical domestic violence. So they're saying that's a part of like coercion where she probably felt she couldn't say no. It's going to be interesting to see what the jury does with that, because that's not that's something that I could see the jury having to wrestle with. I could see that very easily. So it's going to be interesting to see what the jury ultimately does with that information. And let's see what else we might have going on here. Um, yeah, I think we're up to date there. And one other detail, let me just check and see if Law and Crime Network is covering this over the lunchtime break. And I'm hesitating because with court starting so late today, I'm almost surprised that they're breaking this early. But all right, so let's hop over.
into the courtroom, and even when they exit the courtroom, is that Diddy is kind of looking at them. He is looking at them and nodding his head at them. And I think in some respects too, while he's at the defense table and there's a question or an answer that the witness gives, he's shaking his head, he's nodding his head. He is giving kind of visible reactions to things he doesn't like that are being said on the witness stand. And so I'm surprised that the judge kind of brought the hammer down, but I think it was only a matter of time before he was going to say something about this.
Have another question from you, Elizabeth. This is from RSS. Reporters and press have noted strange interactions. Reporters and press have noted strange interactions outside of the trial. Has Elizabeth faced any such strange encounters? And then it gets cut off. I mean, I don't know if anybody's been watching Sidebar. Sometimes people yell things, but have you noticed anything like this?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, there's been a lot of just interest, and I think just the volume of people here who are here every single day. There are some interesting encounters that you have. For example, today, one of the people who sits in line overnight was allegedly hit in the head with a hammer by none other than the MTA lady. And so there are some people who just try to either cut the line to get into the courtroom. There have been kind of, I wouldn't say verbal spats, because then that would imply that it was super aggressive, but there's been kind of just a little bit of, I would say, kind of a little bit of aggressiveness as far as just some people who either will cut in line, or some people who just want so much access to the trial that it kind of is upsetting people who have been standing in line for hours on end.
Aside from this is a case that raises a lot of emotions. People have taken certain sides in it. I saw it personally when I was covering Johnny Depp, Amber Heard. It's one of the cases people are really, really invested in. Let me ask you this, Elizabeth. This happened at the beginning of the day. There was a whole back and forth about the press in court, about whether or not the press are following court orders. What was that all about? Can you provide a little bit more illumination on the press being, there was a constitutional issue in terms, what was going on there?
Yeah. It had to do with the exhibits that Jane will be testifying to when she takes the stand next, which is very soon. So they had to do with the Jane exhibits. The press, for the most part, was concerned about not getting these exhibits because, again, for our viewers who don't know, we unfortunately are not going to be able to see the exhibits, such as photographs, such as text message exhibits, in the fashion that we normally do. Why? Because the government says there's so much redaction that needs to be done. So in these text messages, they kind of showed Jane's personal information as far as concerning her family members, and as far as concerning what could be identifiable information that could possibly help release her name out into the public. And they definitely don't want that, especially after what had happened to Mia. And so the government was saying that they can release the photos and the videos that don't depict Jane, and they can easily be released, possibly even the same day. But as far as her texts and those photos that do show her face, do show identifiable features, those will take a little bit more, or take a little bit longer of a time to just redact those. And so the media organization kind of legal representative was saying that the government should have redacted these exhibits before she had testified, or before she testifies today. The media organization also saying that the press has a right and needs to see these exhibits, and delayed access is not effective access. And so what the judge ended up ruling is that he did end up siding with the government in this part, and that the media application to see these exhibits, even if it was just certain members of the press to see these exhibits, that application was denied.
I get it. I completely understand. This is one of those cases, there is an extra sensitivity. I mean, you are having witnesses who are even testifying under pseudonyms. It's, even when we show the clip, the B-roll, the courtroom sketches, we're blocking out the face. You're blocking out the face of Mia, so it's a problem. Elizabeth Milner, thank you so much for the great reporting. I know you have to jump back inside. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you on Sidebar later today as we do a full court recap.
Thanks, Jesse.
All right. So I'm back here with Barrett Berger, Tyler Bailey, Rich Schoenstein. Tyler, I'll start with you. Combs allegedly signaling to the jury, nodding to the jury. Why is that such a no-no?
You can't do anything as a defendant that could be showing like you're trying to influence the jury, intimidate the jury, draw empathy from the jury. Defense lawyers, we always tell our clients to not be fazed, whether it's good testimony that's coming out or bad testimony that's coming out. We also hear that the judge said that he seems to be nodding his head pretty vigorously at witnesses when they're saying certain things. that could be interpreted different ways. It could be that he's in agreement, or that he's trying to possibly intimidate these witnesses, nodding his head as if, okay, we'll see about that. Because I mean, he's in jail, but he still has connections. I mean, he's a known figure. If he is this big, powerful person that the government is making him out to be, him intimidating witnesses could go a long way and influence future testimony that's going to be elicited in this trial.
So we're going to take your questions, your continued questions for the next, 25 minutes or so. So get them in. We'll try to answer as best as we can. We also have a poll up. So Rich, listen to this. The poll we had up was, do you think Diddy and his team should sue CNN for the 2016 hotel video leak? 80% say no, 19% say yes. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm with the 80%, but mostly because it would be a fruitless endeavor to try to sue CNN for that. I don't see any basis for it.
Well, actually, we have a question that just kind of jumped on that. This is from Illy Gazarian. Can Diddy also sue the hotel for providing the video to CNN, assuming that's what happened, since they told him there's no copies? Can he sue the hotel or the staff?
Well, that's an interesting question, right? So he bribes the hotel to buy the video. Can he then sue the hotel because they kept a copy? I mean, he didn't really pay the hotel for the video, right? He paid a guy at the hotel.
That split it with two others.
Right, to surreptitiously get the video to him. So I don't know how he could sue the hotel. I guess he could sue the guy, but I don't know. I don't think that's going anywhere.
Well, couldn't you sue the hotel and be like, this is who you employ? How dare you employ people that I couldn't properly bribe?
Right. Why can't I beat up my girlfriend in your hallway in private?
And pay it off the right way. Yeah. I mean, we're making light of it. It's a serious argument, but I hear what you're saying. Okay, Barrett, I want to go to you. This is from Fet Leon. Could it be tactics from the prosecution to bring in anonymous witnesses to emphasize how much of an impact the treatment by Diddy had on them? That's an interesting question, because the jury seems to be they're testifying under a pseudonym, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question, but the short answer is no, it's not. And I know that because it's a really high bar to be able to get a witness to testify under a pseudonym. So in federal court, and actually in all courts in our country, there is a presumption that the courts will be open, that the public has a right to see what happens in a public trial. So anytime you want to take a measure to sort of limit the public's access to any portion of a trial, there's a pretty high bar for that. So if you want to close the courtroom for certain motions, you have to satisfy certain, legal thresholds. Same with getting a witness to testify under a pseudonym. It's not something that's granted easily, and it's not something that's granted often. So no, I don't think it is something that the prosecutors are doing at a whim. My guess is if they have been able to convince the judge that this is appropriate, then there is evidence that there is some sort of a real threat.
Barrett, I'm going to throw another question to you as well. This is from RSS. Is barring a defendant a measure a judge has ever taken in a federal case? So as we were talking about Judge Subramanian potentially barring Combs from the courtroom if he's signaling to the jury, nodding to the jury. Has it ever been done before?
Yes, that is not something that's done frequently, but it definitely happens. You have defendants that act out in court. You have some defendants that, what seems like what Combs is doing is, potentially, could be interpreted as signaling to a jury, but I've seen defendants just have, tantrums essentially in the courtroom, right? Screaming, yelling, acting disrespectfully, and judges will take them out. It's not usual that they keep them out for the entire trial, but you do have circumstances where, a defendant has to be excused to cool down because they get too heated or they start yelling at a witness or things like that. So no, it doesn't happen every day, but it's not something that is totally unheard of.
Tyler, I'm going to throw two questions to you because they're very similar. This is from Alexander Mateo. Jesse, being that the prosecution's case is not a clean-cut case, do you or anyone feel like this case can end up being a mistrial? And then the question from Stephen Clark is, forgot to ask last week when you discussed mistrials, could the prosecution's case be in danger if we're 7 weeks in and the juror is replaced? Would a new juror cause a mistrial by not having all the details?
No, so there's alternate jurors who are there hearing the testimony. as of right now, they may not vote, but if something happens and the alternate has to step in, you don't have to recreate the whole trial. So the first question, no, that's what they have alternate jurors there who are there for. But also, it's been 7 weeks, or it's a 7-week trial, and there's always a risk of a mistrial. But I still don't believe the government's case is terrible. I think they've been putting compelling witnesses on the stand. I think the defense is doing what they can to score points on cross-examination when they have a case to do so. But we're still early enough that the defense has not put up their case in chief. A mistrial is always possible. The defense would love to get a mistrial because this is a expensive prosecution for the government. And if there was a mistrial declared, we don't know if there will be a new trial of Mr. Combs for these cases and charges that he's been accused of.
Barrett, I want to throw another question to you. This is a super chat question from Iron Galaxy Gamer. Another one. Really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. This is for you, Barrett. Do you think it's possible more crucial evidence from Diddy's other homes that we haven't seen is intentionally being held to try a slam dunk later?
So I think the general trajectory of a trial is you want to start strong and finish strong. Prosecutors tend to call their most compelling witnesses or put their strongest evidence forth right in the beginning of the trial and then right at the end, right? That's sort of the primacy of when jurors are able to retain this information. You kind of bury some of the slower stuff in the middle. So is it possible that there is, amazing evidence that going to be put into the case at the end? Absolutely, that happens. It would be surprising to me if there's, huge things that we haven't learned about, only because there have been a lot of motion practice in this case. So much of what has come out in the trial has already been a little bit previewed for the public. But yeah, it's possible.
Rich, I'm going to go to you for this question because I have to tell you, I think one of the reasons people are fascinated by this case, given the fact that we're talking about Sean Combs, but the question becomes, what's going to happen in this trial? Who's going to testify? How much of the allegations from all of the civil complaints going to come in? How big is this case going to get, particularly since we don't know really the witness list? This is from Sally McWatty. Will the Jane Doe who filed a lawsuit about being violated with the IUD and remote testify? By the way, she's talking about Ashley Parham. Wouldn't her testimony go a long way improving RICO, as she says, KK, Christina Coram, Sean Combs' purported former chief of staff, as she says KK was present? I reckon it would. It goes to a larger question. I mean, whether or not Ashley Parham would testify, whether or not other alleged victims in all these civil suits would testify. What do you think?
Well, I think the government, again, wants other victims because you don't want this just to be a situation that was between Combs and Cassie. That seems more like a domestic dispute. You want to show a broader pattern of violence. So the government wanted to bring in multiple victims. Now, I thought they were bringing in 3 victims. I don't know if they can add on more at this point. And they have to...
Well, wait a second. They can call alleged victims like Jane Doe and Cassie, but Brianna Bengolan, Capricorn Clark, you could say they're almost victims too.
Yeah, they are victims, but not to the same extent, not necessarily of the same nature. But I do think it would help. And I do think, one of the parts of that question was the fact that it was known to KK, right? Tying it back to his people, his business, the alleged RICO enterprise, that's really important. He's a violent guy who gets in these scrapes, and that's one thing. But the fact that he has his whole business covering for him, that's more what the case is about.
Got a super chat question for you, Tyler. This is from Christina Lester. Thank you so much, Christina. Could it be a case of too many cooks in the kitchen with such a deep bench of attorneys, meaning defense attorneys, or is it simply the strongest defense? Because, Sean Combs has quite a few defense attorneys.
You need a lot of defense attorneys in a case like this. You have different victims who are testifying, different personalities of defense lawyers. You got a lot of documents to crawl through, text messages, a lot of just information that's out there. So you need more than one person running the show. And there probably are a team of lawyers that we don't even see who are helping out in this case at these lawyers' offices, going through some discovery and other information. And you don't want, sometimes you don't want a male defense lawyer cross-examining a woman who's a victim. So he needs a big defense lawyer, defense team, but I'm pretty sure there's one person who is the head honcho running the defense.
Barrett from Shanessa's room. If for some reason Diddy is acquitted, but is later found out to have intimidated or tampered with the jury, what would be the repercussions? Could he be retried?
So he can certainly be tried on obstruction charges if there's evidence that comes up that he tampered with evidence or with a juror or with a witness. He can absolutely face very serious federal charges for those. He will not be retried on these current charges, but he could face obstruction or witness intimidation charges.
I have a question here for you, Rich. This is from Top Gunna Boy. Mark Agnifalo's Puffy's lawyer said he can't stop him from taking the stand. Does he still stand by that statement?
Well, I think he stands by that statement because that statement is accurate. It is, at the end of the day, the decision of the client, of the defendant, whether or not to take the stand. And as a lawyer, all you can do is advise your client on whether or not you think they should take the stand. Most clients do not act contrary to the decision of their lawyers if their lawyers don't think he should take the stand. And I just can't imagine Sean Combs taking the stand in this case. I'd be very surprised.
Barrett, let me go back to you. A question about prosecution here. Again, goes to the idea of how specific they were and what allegations they wanted to include in this criminal case and how far back. Erica Charlotte says, Jesse, why can't the prosecution use Puff's attack on Steve Stout as evidence of his racketeering? And we remember this was all the way back in the day. The allegation was this record producer, Steve Stout, had claimed that Combs, his bodyguards, beat him up with a champagne bottle, a telephone, a chair. He could have faced years in prison if he was convicted of this. But actually, Stout had asked the Manhattan DA's office to drop the charges. Combs had publicly apologized. So why not include something like that? Why not include older allegations if they exist of Sean Combs?
So there's nothing to prevent the prosecution from including older allegations in a RICO charge. That's one of the great parts about using the RICO statute is you're able to include acts that might otherwise be time barred. So there's nothing based on the statute that would preclude them. My guess is, it's one of two things. One, they didn't have the evidence. Maybe that's because witnesses didn't want to testify or they didn't have physical evidence to back up some of these allegations. So they didn't think they could actually prove these allegations beyond a reasonable doubt, or they didn't feel like it fit within the means and methods of the enterprise as they've alleged it in the indictment. So,
right.
This was an indictment that's really more focused on sort of the sex trafficking, violence against women aspect of what Combs was doing. So maybe they thought it was just too far afield from the allegations that they had brought.
These are great questions. I love all of these questions. Having said that, this next question, Tyler, is a really good one. This is from ATX Stanley, okay? What is the defense's case in chief going to be about? Just a bunch of character witnesses? And who would even testify? What a great question that is.
That's a real great question. And I've been thinking about that this whole trial because they've already, in their opening, have pretty much admitted that Mr. Combs is a bad guy, that he's done things that no human being should do and treat women, and he's owned up to that. So here, unless they're able to possibly attack certain things like the arson that he's been accused of committing, the circumstantial evidence that's out there on him, I think the defense's case in chief could focus on that. And also, the defense does not have to put up a single witness or any evidence in the case in chief. They could always decline to present a case. But we'll see. I think the best bet will be using that time to attack weakness in any circumstantial evidence that the government's relying on.
They got a poll up here, Rich. Do you think Diddy's confidence is affected by his family's absence in court? 53% say no, 46% say yes. This isn't a question that just came in too. This is from Robert Clinton. Does the video from the hotel incident make it impossible for the defense to make the jury believe that the witnesses' testimonies are fabricated enough for reasonable doubt?
So you could watch the video and believe those events took place and still not believe some portions of the witness's testimony. And that single act of violence is not enough to establish RICO. It's not enough to establish trafficking. It's not enough to establish prostitution. That is, as the defense is saying, a horrific act of violence that is not really charged individually in the case. It is only a component of the other charges. So there is, in theory, plenty of room for the jury to still disbelieve witnesses and or to find reasonable doubt as to the charges in this prosecution.
Barrett, a question just came in that we get a lot, and I don't have the exact answer, so I'm happy to have you with your expertise answer this one. This is from Christina Lester. Will Diddy remain at the MCC if found guilty? I think they mean the MDC. The MCC is not in function anymore. By the way, that's where Jeffrey Epstein died, but MDC. Will he remain at the MDC if he's found guilty?
No, he'll be designated to a federal prison. So the MDC is essentially a holding facility for people that are awaiting trial. There's some people, if they have a very short sentence, that will ultimately serve their sentence out there. But if he is convicted, he's going to be facing a pretty significant sentence, and he'll be designated and serve his sentence out in one of those federal facilities.
Barrett, let me give you another question. This is from Nest Dog. It's a super chat question, so thank you so much, Nest Dog. If Christina Coram was named a co-conspirator, can the Fed still have her flip and have her testify against Diddy?
Yes. So if she had been somebody that the federal prosecutors thought that there was sufficient evidence to charge, the way that they would have done it is bring charges against her, either by indicting her or by complaint, and then offer her the opportunity to cooperate. Now, it's no small feat to get a cooperation agreement in the Southern District of New York. It's a pretty arduous process. You have to meet with prosecutors. You have to tell them everything you know about every aspect of criminal activity, not only your own, but other people's. So she would have had to give a full debrief of everything she knew about Diddy's criminal activities, not just the ones that they had already charged or that they already knew about, but everything, as well as her own. So it's a pretty steep uphill battle, but defendants that do cooperate are usually, they receive a pretty significant benefit at the time of sentencing.
Tyler Bailey got another question that keeps coming up, this one from Allison Jones. If guilty and imprisoned for decades, what's going to happen to his assets?
Well, he'll probably lose a lot of his assets. They're going to be due to asset forfeiture laws. But of course, he'll still retain some. You'll have his music royalties that are always going to be there. I'm pretty sure he has other assets that weren't involved or used in furtherance of a crime. So I think he'll remain a rich man until he leaves this earth.
Okay, so we have to wrap things up. And because we have to wrap things up, I want to do one final analysis question. By the way, we put up a poll. We're nearing, it's like the poll kind of predicted exactly what I was going to ask you guys. I didn't see this poll until I came up with this question, but we're nearing the end of week 4. Do you think the state has proved enough to convict Diddy? 72% say yes. 27% say no. Rich, the question I was going to say at this point, where are we in the trial? Do you agree with that? 72% say they think the state has proved enough to convict Diddy. I guess the question is of what? Right,
well, the way I think about this question is, have they proven enough to get all of the charges to the jury? Remember, at the end of the case, the defense will move for a directed verdict. The defense will say there's not sufficient evidence of this and that and the other thing. I think that motion usually has no chance. It has no chance here. The prosecution has put forward enough evidence to prove the elements of the various crimes that are charged. They will get that to a jury, and what the Diddy defense team has to hope for is to convince that jury that the wrong crimes are charged in this case, that the crimes charged in this case are not really tied to the evidence, or alternatively, keep in mind, 12 jurors. You need 12 out of 12, so the defense's secondary hope is just get me one. Just get me one juror who says this doesn't add up to the crimes alleged, and that would preclude a conviction.
Barrett Berger, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think they are very clearly already satisfied the legal elements that they need to prove in order to get a conviction here. I think they've proven sex trafficking, they've proven the prostitution, and I think they are really there on the RICO enterprise as well. So it all comes down to jurors. They are impossible to predict. I will say, in my experience, jurors don't like letting people escape accountability if they feel like they're bad people. So even if the defense, hangs their hat on, yes, he's an abuser, yes, he's a violent man, but he's not, a racketeer, I don't think that's going to have a huge likelihood of success, because jurors want to see people that do bad things held to account.
That video is so problematic because of that. Okay, but Tyler, I'll give you the final word here about it, because the defense, I don't know, they've been raising a lot of good points on cross-examining these witnesses. You heard the back and forth with Miss Bungolan, regarding inconsistencies in her account. You heard financial motivations for certain witnesses, text messages where they're showing glowing support for Sean Combs after what he allegedly did to them. Bungolan testified earlier, was confronted by a text message where she was allegedly wanted to buy Sean Combs a sweatshirt 2 weeks after he dangled her off her balcony. Cassie's text about maybe encouraging or facilitating freak-offs. You think the defense has done enough to raise reasonable doubt?
Yeah, for the sake of sport, I'm going to take the contrary position than my colleagues here and say that anything is possible. Mr. Combs spent a lot of money on these defense lawyers, and they have done a good job on cross-examination showing that there are some deficiencies in the government's case. They try to point out the inconsistencies regarding the relationships that these witnesses have had with Mr. Combs. 1 minute, Mr. Combs is raping them. The other minute, they're buying Christmas gifts and clothes and talking about taking vacations. So this jury base does lean male. That's not saying that it leans towards acquitting Mr. Combs, but if they seem to believe that this is a case where the government is overcharging, they have a RICO case with one man at the top, and there's no other people who are charged, and the defense has done a good enough job in showing reasonable doubt, maybe he gets acquitted. But truthfully, I see no way he's getting acquitted. So for the sake of sports, he's going down.
All right. Well, you all agree. Barrett Berger, Tyler Bailey, Rich Schoenstein, thank you all so much for coming on. All-star panel. Really, really appreciate your insight and staying with me as we go through the questions, and what fantastic questions we have from our viewers who are fantastic. And I want to let everybody know, so we are planning on doing all of these lunchtime shows every day of this trial. We want to try to bring you as much as we can, particularly since there's no cameras or audio equipment allowed. But I also want to let you know, for sidebar purposes, so later on we have an episode, as I mentioned, coming out about immunity. So all the people who have apparently taken immunity, what does immunity mean? What does it mean about the case? Why did they need immunity? And we're also going to be doing a full day recap of what happened in court today with Elizabeth Milner.
Okay, thank you all for hanging in there with me through the lunch break. I think the jury is actually still out to lunch, but I thought what we would do in the interim, while they were talking about all of this with Diddy, I started thinking about his conviction or his acquittal that he had in 2001. So that's I think that happened in March of 2001. And so here we are, 24 years later, and he's back in court again. I think these charges are far, far, far more serious than the ones he faced in 2001. But I don't know, that crossed my mind. So I looked up, tried to go back and find some video from that time. And let's take a look at some of that. So hold on just a second as I switch over to those screens and see what was going on around that time. Just a second. And and the point of that is too, to just say this is a situation where a person got in some hot water. A lot of people say Shine took the fall for Diddy back in 2001. Shine says he took the fall for Diddy back in 2001. There's also a victim in that case who has always said and continues to say that she knows who shot her in that club, and she said it was Diddy. He got away with that. Did he learn? Did he learn anything from that? No. Clearly he did not. Clearly, he did not. So let's just take a look at some footage from back then. So just one second while I switch over our screen. But yeah, and it's, I don't know, it's something, I guess, the money, the fame, the power, where maybe he thought, he's invincible and he doesn't have to learn, from these things. But that's just, it's so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate that you would lose everything you built, your freedom. What about your children, especially your children who already lost their mother way too early, and now to find yourself in this situation again because of whatever your issues are, and there appear to be many, many. All right, so this is Puff Daddy acquitted of illegal possession of a handgun and bribery. This was in March 2001. So let's take a listen.
I just want to. I just want to say I give all glory to God. I give all glory to God. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be able to walk out here to talk to y'all today. I want to thank my mother for being by my side every day, coming to court me every day. I want to just thank God for just being here for me and just protecting me. My lawyers bringing me these 2 great lawyers, 3 great lawyers. And all the people, all my fans, my staff, all the people in New York, everybody that's prayed for me all over the world and sent me prayers and messages. Thank you for your prayers. You're giving me support. The people in New York, just when I'm walking in the streets, just telling me to keep my head up. And I'm just so grateful today. And my whole family. I'm just really right now, I'm just very emotional. I'm at really a loss.
Then why couldn't you get your shit together? Why couldn't you get your shit together? Why was this moment a huge, significant moment where you literally dodged a prison sentence? Threw one of your person shine under the bus, he took the fall for you. But with all this relief that you're expressing right now, it was fleeting and not enough for you to change your behavior at all.
I'm just very emotional. I feel blessed.
Yeah. So, in addition to that footage, hold on one second. I have one other thing that might be interesting, and it was Diddy just talking about how scary it was while he was waiting to hear how the outcome of the trial was going to go. And again, this is just another one of those things that if it's that scary, it would make you feel like, well, then you're going to do everything in your power not to end back up in that situation, right? Right? You would think that. But anyway, we're here now. So let's take another listen at some older footage from Diddy.
What was it like for you standing there waiting for that motion to come in? I mean, it was a long time.
I mean, it's been like a year and a half. It was like a year and a half with this, with this luggage, walking around with this, and people not understanding, not knowing the truth, and so it felt good that it was finally coming to an end. And, I felt confident, but at the same time, it was a scary situation. Because you have, 12 people who hold the fate of your life. But, I put it in God's hands, and, he brought me out of it.
All right, hold on, y'all. I think I got too much going on in the background. All right, let's do that again. Okay, let's start over.
What was it like for you standing there waiting for that motion to come in? I mean, it was a long time.
I mean, it's been like a year and a half. It was like a year and a half with this, with this luggage, walking around with this, and people not understanding, not knowing the truth, and so it felt good that it was finally coming to an end. And, I felt confident, but at the same time, it was a scary situation. Because you have, 12 people who hold the fate of your life. But, I put it in God's hands, and, He brought me out of it, and I give all glory to God. I'm forever grateful.
That's got to be the hardest thing to be waiting there to see,
Yeah.
that judge reading that.
It was definitely like one of the hardest years of my life, overall, like going through this and personal stuff. It's just like, I can relate. I know there's millions of people out there that can relate to like those months or those years when it just seems like everything is just going wrong. It's just like everything beyond what the people know about, all of the extra stuff that people don't even know about, or people that are close to you don't even know about. And it just sometimes it just feels like, you want to give up, but you got people that you're blessed to have people around you that tell you to keep going and hold your head up, and it's gonna be all right. Keep your faith strong. That's what I did. And I'm just, it's been a very learning experience. It's been a life-changing experience.
But it wasn't, though. It wasn't. And it's something. Even hear him say it's a life-changing experience. Even to know that in the moment, back when he was doing this interview, and this back in 2001, it's just like, okay, of course I know you're not going to tell Entertainment Tonight that Shine is going to jail or will be in jail for you or taking the fall for you or whatever. But even just knowing that another man lost years of his freedom taking the fall for you, that wasn't enough to make you say, even me just trying to honor that, I gotta fly right. I gotta keep my shit together. You getting acquitted. Johnny Cochran was one of your lawyers back then. God rest the dead. Even the gun charge, robbery. At first, I think they wanted to charge with attempted murder, but I don't think they went through with that charge. Either way, you got acquitted of everything. You got acquitted of everything. But what you did not do was do whatever it was in your power not to get caught up in this situation again. That just blows my mind. So let me see and check and see if they're back. All right, the court is back from lunch. They say that the jury is entering now, so it'll probably be a few minutes before we start getting updates. So we're just gonna watch this just one more time before I transition us back to the live feed for the court. So let's just take another look.
For you standing there waiting. What was it like for you standing there waiting for that motion to come in? I mean, it was a long time.
I mean, it's been like a year and a half. It was like a year and a half with this, with this luggage, walking around with this, and people not understanding, not knowing the truth, and so it felt good that it was finally coming to an end. And, I felt confident, but at the same time, it was a scary situation because you have, 12 people who hold the fate of your life. But, I put it in God's hands, and, he brought me out of it, and I give all glory to God. I'm forever grateful.
That's got to be the hardest thing to be waiting there to see, that judge reading that.
It was definitely like one of the hardest years of my life, overall, like going through this and personal stuff. It's just like, I can relate. I know there's millions of people out there that can relate to like those months or those years when it just seems like everything is just going wrong. It's just like everything beyond what the people know about, all of the extra stuff that people don't even know about, or people that are close to you don't even know about. And it just sometimes it just feels like, you want to give up, but you got people that you're blessed to have people around you that tell you to keep going and hold your head up, and it's gonna be all right. Keep your faith strong. That's what I did. And I'm just, it's been a very learning experience. It's been a life-changing experience.
Oh, and there you have it. When Diddy was acquitted in 2001, he said it was a life-changing experience. All right, so the court is back in session, and we are waiting to get some updates from inside the court. And I'll start sharing those here on the live as soon as those start coming in. A little bit that you all might have heard on the lunch break time we spent with Law and Crime Network. They were talking about the judge rebuking Diddy's courtroom behavior. So let's check out this article, excuse me, that's out there about that, so we can see exactly what was going on. I was surprised to hear that. I had not heard anything about that via the thread that we're following. So when they said that, I was like, when did that happen? So let's take a quick look at what this article is saying about that. All right, just 1 second. Let me make it bigger. All right, so the judge rebukes Diddy's courtroom behavior. Hold on, let me show more. Okay, the judge had stern words for Sean Combs in his defense before the court broke for lunch Thursday afternoon. Oh, well, that's why I missed it. Okay. With the jury out of the room, the judge called out lead counsel about Combs' attempting to interact with jury during Bana's testimony. Combs was nodding at the jury around the time the defense was questioning Bana about her account of Combs attacking her on a high-rise balcony and presenting evidence that undermined her timeline. This is strictly prohibited. The jury is not to interact with any of the parties and vice versa. I could not have been clearer, judge said of his instructions. There was a line of questioning where your client was nodding vigorously and looking at the jury. And there was a subsequent moment we had at a sidebar, and I looked and I saw your client looking at the jury and nodding aggressively. This is absolutely unacceptable. The judge continued. He added that if it happens even once more, he would consider excluding Combs from the courtroom. Is that going to happen again? The judge asked the defense. It's not going to happen again, the defense replied. After the rebuke, Combs sat with his arms crossed and his chair pushed back from the defense table. Oh, boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I can only imagine what Diddy's thinking. I can only imagine what he is thinking in response to that. What? Diddy, you can't do that, bro. You can't do that. You cannot do that. Wow. Wow. All right. Let me check our inner city press thread and see if we have any updates yet. They just got back in court after lunch a few minutes ago, so I don't know if we have any postings yet. But that article that I just read about the judge telling Diddy and his lawyers before the lunch break, stop trying to communicate with the jury with the vigorously nodding your head and looking at them and all of that, because that is prohibited, and told him if it happens even once more, that he will consider excluding Diddy from the courtroom. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, just 1 second. Let me see what they're talking about. Right now, it looks like the jury is entering now. The judge said I could stay past 4 p.m. My sentence has been adjourned, so I could stay late. I have a meeting with lawyers in another matter. Okay, so this is all judge lawyer stuff. Pardon me. So, the jury's entering. Prosecutor, first a stipulation, a seizure at Miami Airport of Christina Corum's cell phone. These are true excerpts. Published the exhibit. Text bubbles with Cassie, dangles over ledge, OMG. Prosecutor, metadata shows September 30, 2016. Bring witness in. All right, so something about KK's cell phone being seized at a Miami airport. So, KK, girl, if they are not officially going to charge you as a co-conspirator, I know you're going to have to get up on this witness stand, and you're going to have to sing like a MF and canary. Do you hear me? I already know it. So I am anxiously awaiting to see what happens with KK. Does the government go co-conspirator route, or does she just, give in and testify on behalf of the prosecution and tell us all the things because she knows it. She was in charge, as one of the other persons testified. Her job was running Diddy's life. Okay. She was the one running down Eddie Garcia to say, hey, we got to get that videotape. Showing up to his job in the lobby, calling his house, and he's like, how in the world you got my number, my home number? So yeah, that KK, yeah. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen with her in this trial. Let's see if we have any updates at this point. Hope y'all are having a good day. Good day, good day, good day. Let's see. They said the jury was entering. Who is this person? I want us to hurry up and get the Jane Doe person. So they now have on the stand someone named Enrique Santos. He said, I have worked at the SDNY prosecutor's office, and I think that's the Southern District of New York prosecutor's office for 17 years. I've done 3,000 cell phone extractions. Prosecutor, these three iPhones, whose were they? He said Cassie Ventura, one had a changed IMEI number. It had been repaired. Okay. Okay. I hope they're fast with this witness because I'm ready to get to this Jane Doe. Like, okay, what's going on? What's happening? On the CNN update, they're saying that the before calling Enrique Santos to the stand, Assistant U.S. Attorney reviewed a screenshot of a text message thread between KK Combs, former chief of staff, and Cassie. Ventura texted KK, I just found out some crazy ish. Ventura then said he came into my house while my friends were here and we were all sleeping and they woke me up because he was ringing the bell crazy at 3 a.m. And when he came in, I went to my room and he went at Bana, choked her, and then dangled her feet off the balcony. This is crazy. Ventura then said, I have to stay away. The screenshot was recovered from KK's phone, which was seized at a Florida airport on March 25th, 2024. Enrique Santos is now on the stand. And that's like what I was saying about Bana. Bana, I'm glad she's off the stand, and I'm hoping Bana can now go live her life, okay? Go live her life, and if she can get any money out of Diddy, I'm cool. But she was a horrible witness. Horrible witness. While I don't doubt Diddy did exactly what she said he did with her on that balcony, I don't doubt that at all. But she was just a horrible witness. So I'm glad she's off the stand now. She can go on, live her life, have her best life, I hope. Stay away from those drugs. Because them drugs, if she's off of them now like she's supposed to be, seems like they left some residual effect over there. So I just, I wish everybody who's come across Diddy's path and has been subjected to the maniac, I wish them well. Okay. Let's see if we have any other update at this point. Do we have an update? Come on, Enrique. Let's get this thing going because we need Jane to be up on this stand. We don't have another update from Enrique at this point. All right. Meanwhile, let me get you all off of this screen and share the thread with y'all. Hope y'all are having a good day again. Please like the live and you can drop a comment even if it's just to say hello. And I appreciate you being here and tuning in. There's so much coverage of this trial. I am a new live streamer, and so I'm paying my dues right now. So thank y'all for being here. Also a part of my learning on the job, if you will. All right. Let's see if we have any update from Inner City Press. Okay, no, we're still waiting. Let me check Washington Post, see if they have anything. Let's see. Well, we can read these. As defense attorneys milled around waiting for court to resume, Sean Combs and his attorney, Nicole Westmoreland, were engrossed in an animated conversation at the defense table. Westmoreland sat in a chair with her legs crossed and her chin in her hand, chatting with her client. Soon after, her co counsel, Xavier R. Donaldson, ambled over and joined in. Despite being rebuked by the judge for his interactions with the jury minutes earlier, Combs appeared in good spirits after Westmoreland spent the morning picking apart the account of a government witness. The government has called next witness to the stand, Enrique Santos. Santos's questioning is not expected to take long. Good. Prosecutors have said he will help jurors understand aspects of Jane's upcoming testimony, particularly scores of text messages expected to be shown to the jury. Jane, an alleged sex trafficking victim of Sean Combs, is using a pseudonym. Okay. On day 17, let me see if this is just a recap before I get into all of this. All right. Let me check in back and see if we have any update before I get into what's over on the Washington Post. We are still waiting on an update. So I don't know what's taking them so long. Well, let's see. Somebody said the judge is warning the Combs for nodding at jury could be used in potential appeal. That's interesting. Okay, well, while we're waiting on an update, let's take a look at that. Just 1 second as I switch you all over. And my apologies for all of this movement, but there's nothing happening right now as far as testimony from Enrique. Let me just check again before I tap out. Yeah, we're still waiting. So while we're doing that, I am going to share the screen so we can check out the CNN story. Where is it? Okay. Here we go. All right. So, the judge warning to the defense that Sean Diddy Combs could be excluded from the courtroom if he continues to interact with jury could be used on a potential appeal, Laura Coates said. Coates said she has heard in the past judges give similar warnings in other cases when the defendant was perceived as theatrical and particularly disruptive, or if the judge believed that somehow the conduct of the defendant might possibly influence or intimidate the jurors in this case, direct eye contact or otherwise. However, Coates noted in the high-profile case of Combs, the judge did this knowing that the defense is well versed in the appellate process and knows full well that anything that the judge orders their defendant and client not to do, if a conviction results, could very well go up on appeal. Coates added that there is this common sense notion that a defendant will have a human instinct to react. The judge, however, has a very tight leash on this trial, including the attorneys and beyond. Coates continued, this was a moment that I have not seen where Sean Diddy Combs, who is normally stoic, looking ahead, has been threatened if he reacts and looks at the jury and nods along with the testimony, he could possibly not be present for his own criminal federal trial. Oh, boy. Okay, digital forensics analyst Enrique Santos testified that he extracted data from 3 iPhones belonging to Cassie Ventura. He said investigators recovered several deleted records from the devices. Santos testified that when the deleted records were recovered, certain messages lost contact names or had strange characters inserted into names. Okay. Okay. Let's see if we have anything else going on. All right. So, according to Inner City Press, we left off with the prosecutor saying these 3 iPhones, whose were they? Santos said Cassie Ventura, one had a changed IMEI number, it had been repaired. Prosecutor, if a user takes a screenshot, what is the metadata? Santos said creation date, modified data, and where it's stored. Prosecutor, this exhibit, is this another extraction? Santos said yes. No further questions. Defense attorney, some deleted messages remain. Santos said yes. Okay. All right. And then we're waiting. And maybe that's it. Maybe the defense doesn't have too much to ask at this point. I hope that is the case. Let's see what they're saying on the defense cross-examine Santos. Direct examination is finished. Defense attorney Tenny Garagos is now beginning cross-examination. Yeah, let's hope this goes by really, really quickly. And then we could just move on to whomever this Jane Doe is, which to me is really the main event for today. Let's see if we have any other questions. Not yet. Somebody said, "Well, that was quick. That was super quick." Someone else commented, "Which attorney on the cross?" It is Garagos who is doing the cross. Somebody else said, "Thank God we have Elon versus Trump fight to switch to between these long break." Oh Lord, this is something I am not following. Oh my. Oh my. Okay. Okay. I'm not. I don't have the capacity for that. Prosecution read to the jury the text exchange where Cassie confronted KK about Diddy popping up at her house and dangling Bana off the balcony before Enrique took the stand is on my page. YW. Okay. Remains where question not even deleting can erase stuff. I tell you, that's why somebody testified earlier in this trial. I don't remember who it was, but they were talking about how they don't throw away devices. And I'm like, yeah, I was telling my daughter that. I said, I know in our garage, I have several like devices, old laptops. Even in my office here, I have a desktop that I don't use anymore. And she was like, well, there's ways that you can, get it scrubbed. I don't care what the people say. I just don't believe. I just believe there's still a way for people to get access to the information. And I don't care, you feel like you could have tax documentation, stuff with your social security number, anything that you just don't want getting into, people's hands. And that's why I have always held on to my old phones. I've always held on to my computers. Now the phones, that's a whole nother conversation because since we take so many pictures and everything isn't in the cloud, I can't get rid of my old phones. But anyway, I digress. So let's see if they have wrapped up with Enrique. And maybe we're ready to move on. Okay, Tenny Garagos, September 30th is the capture date of the screenshot. Correct. Santos says yes. Thank you. Judge says next witness. Okay, that was fast. That was fast. First, some sealed exhibits under the pseudonym order, and because sexually explicit, all this time we call Jane. Oh my word. Oh my word. So here we are, y'all. Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Jane Doe is being called to the stand. And from what they said, they are hoping that this testimony from Jane Doe is going to support some of the sex trafficking charge. So, or support the sex trafficking charge. So, let's see. I hope this isn't another situation where the prosecution is overselling a witness, and then we get the witness, and we were like, oh, okay, where's the stuff you said we were gonna get? I hope that's not the case. I hope this witness delivers what the prosecution says she can deliver. I hope she can. Man, let's go back and see. Let's go back and see just a second. I'm trying to multitask here, and I need to not do that. Okay, Miss Comey, bring in the witness. Prosecutor, please confirm that all the exhibit screens in the public gallery are off. The court deputy said they are. All right. Y'all, this should be potentially a really good witness. Someone said, yes, get Jane now. Thank God. Let's get this rolling. Someone else said the docket also says he is being charged with sex trafficking of children. Why is that not being mentioned? I haven't heard anything about that. And I'm not even sure that's on the docket officially. Someone said the defense can't even argue. Data doesn't lie. So much for trying to discredit Bana. Thank God they got stuff to support that was the case, because Bana discredited herself. She just, and maybe it's from all the drugs, but she was just a horrible witness. Somebody else said, and here we go. And here we go. Someone else said, go on, sis. Yeah, we here for it. We here for it. We are here for this Jane Doe. If she has the goods that she can deliver on Diddy and some of this stuff that he's been doing, and to really, lock down some of these charges against him, I am in full support of that. Now, I hope that's what we get. I hope that is indeed what we get. Okay? Because that has clearly not been the case. So let me just check one other thing. And just updating. All right, just a second, y'all. Just a second. I have to check my connection because I don't know what's going on. And if this doggone live stream dies in the middle like it did the other day, I am going to be over it. Completely over it. Okay, let's see if we have any update at this point. All right, so they're setting it up here on CNN. It just said what to expect to hear from Jane based on opening statements. All right, just a second. All right. Jane, a single mother, began dating Sean Diddy Combs in 2020. So this is a situation that is a little bit more recent. Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson said in opening statements, Combs promised that if they did freak-offs, they would spend quality time together, but it was a lie. Okay, let me just keep going. Johnson said, instead, he allegedly forced her to take drugs and stay awake for days at a time. Remember, the singer Cassie Ventura Combs' former longtime girlfriend testified Combs physically and sexually abused her and used violence and blackmail to make her participate in drug-fueled sex parties known as freak-offs over more than a decade. About a year ago, Combs and Jane had a physical fight at her home. She tried to run out the front door, but he grabbed her in a chokehold, lifted her by the neck, and kicked her to the ground. Later that night, he forced her into a freak-off, she said. In contrast, the defense said in its opening statement, Jane was a willing participant in these sexual encounters. They also argued that the fight last year featured mutual violence. Oh boy, Diddy, I don't think that's going to work for you. Jane's allegations are key to the racketeering charge, one count of sex trafficking and one count of transportation to engage in prostitution. Jane takes the stand. The prosecution has called the witness testifying under the pseudonym Jane to the stand. Judge read the jury an instruction about witnesses testifying under pseudonyms. He reminded the panel that they will learn Jane's true identity, but it won't be said publicly in court. Okay. Okay, y'all. Let me click over to the X feed so you all can see where we'll be getting these updates from. So just 1 second. I don't know. Why am I feeling? I don't know. I feel like I don't know, anxious about whatever's about to happen. I want this testimony to be one that's like, okay, and not one of those where we can't tell. Was it consensual? Was it not? And honestly, I'm gonna tell you, regardless of what might have been the reason for some of these women even say, okay, I do it. And one of those reasons could be they could be into that kind of thing. Okay, let's not act like there are not women who are also into this type of thing. But it could also be career reasons. It could be that they were infatuated, in love, whatever. It could be they had the successful man and they wanted the money. It could be. All of that is irrelevant if you forced them. But I think the gray area for the jury, especially like with Cassie, what might be a gray area for the jury, they saw so much information where you were a willing participant in scheduling things and so on, even requesting them. And then they saw, of course, you saying what he would do and like threaten to release tapes and send by you at the on the airplane, showing you tapes and saying if you don't do whatever, he's gonna expose you. And I just wonder at the end of all of this, how is the jury going to handle testimony from these women when there's evidence that for some of it you were willing, but there's other instances where you say you were not, right? So it's going to just be interesting to see how the jury ends up standing on that. And especially since the jury is leaning more male, it's going to just be interesting to see how they land with that. But let's go back now and see what updates we might have. All right. And I think I heard someone say she's supposed to be on the stand for days. So we'll see. All right. So here's the testimony starting with Jane. Prosecutor, where did you grow up? California. Your level of college, junior college, then modeling. With whom did you have a relationship 2021 through 2024? She said, Sean Combs. What did you call him? Sean, baby, Ernie. She said, why Ernie? We did that. I was Bert, he was Ernie. Prosecutor, when did you meet him? On a girls' trip to Miami in 2020. He was dating my friend. He was really funny and nice. We went on a yacht partying. So you met him when he was dating your friend. Okay, we're going to listen and not judge. We're going to listen and not judge. Jane said he gave me his cell phone number. Prosecutor, did you see drugs? She said, yes, that first night. One of my friends said she wanted drugs, I guess. Prosecutor, I don't want you to guess. Where did you go? The studio in 2-Star. A man pulled out pink powder. Okay, so we'll see what happens after that. And let me see what the CNN update is saying. Assistant U.S. attorney who asked Jane who she was in a relationship with from 2021 to 2024. And she said Sean Combs. She said she called Combs Sean baby Ernie Snookums. She said they called each other Bert and Ernie like the characters from Sesame Street. Oh, isn't that adorable? It is. It's adorable till it's not, like, because this is about to go really, 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 really bad. So let's see. I'm gonna see if there's any particular update on Washington Post. This is I don't know what to think of this. All right, let me just go back to up where we are on the feed and see if we have any other update at this time. So when we left off, Jane said he gave me his cell phone number. The prosecutor said, "Did you see drugs?" She said, "Yeah, that first night. One of my friends said she wanted drugs, I guess." Prosecutor, I don't want you to guess. Where did you go? She said, "The studio in Two Star. A man pulled out pink powder." And now we're waiting to get an update to that testimony. Let's see if we have anything. Yes, Jane. My girlfriend was upset. She thought I was getting with Sean, so we left abruptly. Prosecutor, the next day, drinks by the pool, then movie night in the theater in his residence. He texted me, "I'd like to take you out." I replied that I felt complicated. Okay. All right. So Jane has met Diddy when she was with her friend, who was actually dating Diddy at the time. She said her girlfriend felt away because she thought Jane was trying to get with Diddy, and apparently it is the case because she's saying they were in a quote unquote relationship from 2020 to 24. So, all right. All right. Already not a girl's girl. Already not a girl's girl. Because why are you doing that? She said, I'd like to take you out. I replied that I felt complicated. What does that even mean? Or you felt that it was complicated? Obviously not too complicated if you went and got into this relationship with him for all these years. But let's just see. Let's just see what more she has to say. Let's just see what more she has to say. Prosecutor, where were you living then? She said the East Coast. Did Mr. Combs contact you? Yes, he was flirtatious. He invited me to Miami. Prosecutor, read these texts not shown in the gallery. What does he say? He says, "Call me Ernie." Mm-mm. And every time I do that, I remind myself so much of my mother. Like, Ah, this is just not gonna be good. This is not gonna be good. All right, he said, "Call me Ernie." Not Ernie, somebody said. Not Ernie. Leave Bert and Ernie out of this. Okay. Oh, man. Let's see what else we got here. Someone said, entertaining a man that your friend is dating is just nasty and weird. You were not her friend. Facts. Facts. Okay. Someone else said she didn't just think though, she knew. Somebody said, "Bish." Yeah, 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 yeah. Parody account. Wow. So yeah, I mean, not so great out the gate, Jane. Not so great out the gate. Prosecutor said, "Who was pursuing who?" Jane said he was pursuing me, but I was being considerate of my girlfriend. But she got engaged and moved overseas, so I felt I could do this Sean thing. Prosecutor, had she been seeing Sean and her fiance at the same time? Jane said yes. Oh, okay, then fine. Okay, then fine. I'm saying okay, then fine for them because obviously these are the rules they play by. Okay. In my book of girls rules, we didn't date each other's exes, somebody you were interested in, somebody you were dating. Even if I knew that girlfriend was dating this guy and somebody else at the same time, that would not then give me license to say, "Oh, okay, well, I could talk to him if I want to," because you're talking to two people. No, it's like it's off limits. But that's my book of girls, a girl's girl rule for me, and maybe for a lot of people, but can't apply that to this because I think these people got, I don't know what you call their rules. Okay. So anyway, the prosecutor asked who was pursuing who. Jane said he was pursuing me, but I was being considerate of my girlfriend. But she got engaged and moved overseas, so I felt I could do the Sean thing. Prosecutor, had she been seeing Sean and her fiance at the same time? Jane said yes. Now, I think that was smart of the prosecutor because the way Jane started off her testimony by saying, I met Sean when I was hanging out with my girlfriend, and my girlfriend was actually dating him. And then, he kind of started flirting with me and he asked me out. And my girlfriend, she got upset at one point because she felt like I was, that Sean was trying to talk to me or I was trying to talk to him and all that. So out the gate, we're like looking at her like, okay, here, see, here y'all go, y'all people, all y'all doing drugs, all y'all sleeping with each other, y'all just on that BS, y'all just don't know how to act. So I think the prosecutor, by saying, was your friend like who got engaged and moved overseas, was she seeing Sean and her fiance at the same time? And by the answer being yes, I think the prosecutor is hoping that that will kind of, if anybody on the jury was kind of like, oh, so you a trip, you doing this, so you know what I mean, and start thinking of this Jane negatively. I think they did it this way to try to offset that. We'll see if it works. Because the defense was gonna go there, so I'm sure that's why the prosecutor was like, let me go there first. Let me go there first before you even go there. All right, let's see if we have an update. Okay, yes. So again, we left off with the prosecutor saying, had she been seeing Sean and her fiance at the same time? Jane said yes. Jane said, I went to Miami in January 2021. He got me a hotel room. Where did you have your first date? Jane said the hotel balcony. Prosecutor, how long did your first date last? Jane said 5 days. Whoa. Okay. Prosecutor, what did you tell him about your past? That I had dated someone he knew. Who is Jane Doe? Y'all know we're gonna find out who Jane Doe is. Y'all know we're gonna find out. The internet. I'm not doing any legwork to find out who Jane Doe is. But the internet, the people of the internet will probably, before court is over today, would have identified who this Jane is. Okay. So let's go back. He said, how long did your first date last? Jane said 5 days. What did you tell him about your past? I dated someone he knew. Also, my child's father didn't get along with Sean. He said he didn't mind. Oh, I think I know who Jane is. I think I know who Jane is. Y'all, does that not sound like 50 Cent? You remember 50 Cent's ex of one of the mother of his children was dating Diddy? Now y'all know it is not a chance in hell that 50 Cent is going to remain on mute if this is who Jane is. It's not a chance in hell. Let's continue. Jane, also, my child's father didn't get along with Sean. He said he didn't mind. Prosecutor, how many children do you have? One. What did Sean say about his relationship? Only my friend. He said it wasn't a real relationship. Okay. What did you do? We made a lot of love. We walked on the beach. Later, we went on a proper first date, dressed up, a restaurant. I was head over heels. Prosecutor, how did you stay in contact? Text messages. Did you travel with him? Turks and Caicos. Mm, 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 mm. Somebody said Diddy loves Asian women. Okay. Uh, Someone else said Diddy was a real pimp. This is 50 Cent's baby mother. That's what this is 50 Cent's baby mother. Jane is sounding like 50 Cent's baby mother. Wow. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. Y'all, I don't even okay, let me see. Let me just see what CNN is saying. Jane testified that she first met Diddy on a girls' trip to Miami, Florida in late 2020. She met Combs, who was romantically involved with a friend who was also on the trip at a dinner he hosted at his Miami home. Combs paid for the trip, Jane testified. She recalled a trip lasting about 5 days and seeing Combs on about three of them. Jane said the first night she met Combs, he was really hospitable and funny. He was really charming, really nice, and I was already drawn to him pretty instantly. The group started at Combs's Miami home and then went to a party on a yacht. There was a little bit of flirting going on, Jane testified, of these early encounters. Jane is 50 Cent's baby mama. Y'all. Y'all. Y'all, I'm just saying. This I'm a bit speechless right now as we wait. I wasn't what? What? And I mean, I just said that it would take the internet no time to figure out who this Jane was. I was not thinking that in the few first minutes of her testifying that we all would pretty much know who this is sounding like. By the words that she's saying, he didn't get along with my baby's father. What? This is okay. Let me see if we have any update here. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not 50 Cent's baby mama. Okay, Jane said I was excited. I'd never been to Turks. Prosecutor, who else went in February 2021? Jane said KK, the chef, the butler, at one point a barber. How long did you stay? She said 9 days in Turks, 6 days in the Bahamas. Prosecutor, we're going to play a video. It's not shown in the gallery, loud music. I took the video, Jane said. What do we see? The villa, the vibe. What did you tell Sean? That I was a single mother on social media. I call myself a content creator. Mm, 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 mm. What was your work? She said, advertising brands on my social media. What did he give you? A love bracelet. He said he'd give me money because he'd taken me many days away. I really appreciated that. How much? $10,000. So Jane, who right now I'm thinking is 50 Cent's baby mama, we'll see if that holds true. Okay. She went on this extended, what she called date, a 5-day date with Diddy. Rich people things. And she said, she called herself a content creator and she had, missed some time doing her work because she was on this 5-day date. And Diddy gave her $10,000 to compensate for any money she might have lost being a content creator. Y'all, I am just I am just I am just like at I just what what is happening right now? What is happening right now? Someone said, "I wonder why I wonder what they're leading up to." Okay, so far. Someone said that's it on the video. LOL took the bread, huh? Taking the money was the wrong move. Ah. Someone else said he was tricking the norm. Prosecutor, what did he give you? Jane, a love bracelet. He said he'd give me money because he'd taken me many days away. 50 Cent is about to lose his ish today. Okay? Okay. She should have just used her real name. Thoughts with 50 doing this. I mean, for real. Y'all, I am seriously bugging right now. All this about Jane and we got to protect her identity and all these extra steps put in place for Jane, and she would get on the stand and say something in a few minutes where we like, oh, that's 50 Cent baby mama. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And I need to wait and hear what the rest of this woman has to say. But I'm telling you right now out the gate how I'm feeling in the moment. I'm like, girl, are you up here for clicks and views? Are you up here for clicks and views? Because all the steps, these extra steps people have went and put in place to protect your identity because of how Mia situation didn't go like it should have. I'm thinking this is some woman, who really wants her identity protected. Of course, not anybody we all would just know, and not anybody who would so casually get on the stand and say something in the first few minutes where it would be clear to us that this is 50 Cent's baby mama. Now, if we're wrong, somebody gonna have to prove that today. Somebody is gonna have to prove that today. What? This a trip. A trip. Wow. Wow. Y'all. Okay. Let me get back. Let me get back. Come on, Sandy. Rein it in. Rein it in. Rein it in, girl. Rein it in. Okay. Prosecutor, what drugs had you used before? She said ecstasy twice, 2014 and 2015. And I'm telling you right now, 50 Cent might be filing for custody of his kid. Prosecutor said, and you used it in Turks. Who suggested it? Jane said like 10 times. In the pool, he gave me a pill, said it would be more fun. I was walking down the beach with him and I fell. Jane, I think I was screaming too. They put me in the shower. KK did. Did you take another ecstasy pill? Yes, but a smaller dose. It made me feel relaxed, euphoric, sexual. It enhanced touch and sense. It made me feel more loving and flirtatious. Jane Doe, LOL. She has one kid too. Oh my God. 50 Cent gonna have a field day with this. Woo! Oh my freaking God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is so bad. This is just so bad. Somebody said definitely camping on 50 Cent's Instagram tonight. What? I'm not going to share her name. This is amazing Too many clues. I mean, out the gate. Out the gate. Bet Diddy got with her to try to piss 50 off. Oh, for sure. Ah, this is just I'm still baffled. I don't know. I am just still baffled. Baffled. Like what? My. Let's go back. Let's just go back and see what other testimony might be out there. Cause mm-mm. 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 Y'all, I don't camp out on 50 cents social media anything, but I will be checking that out tonight. For sure. Sure, for sure. Okay, wait a minute. That might be ahead of where we were. Okay, let me back up a little bit. Okay. Coming down from Jesus' time. Okay, so she was talking about the drugs she had taken. The prosecutor asked, "Did you take another ecstasy pill?" She said, "Yes, but a smaller dose. It made me feel relaxed, euphoric, sexual. It enhanced touch and sense. It made me feel more loving and flirtatious." Prosecutor, what about coming down from ecstasy? Jane said, "It was like your mind was kind of readjusting. Coming down from a high, you're just tired." Prosecutor, in the Bahamas, did you continue taking drugs? Jane said, "Yes, ecstasy. Sean gave it to me." Prosecutor, how much did he wire you? Jane said $10,000. We started using the L word. He told me he was seeing multiple women. I was okay with it. Why? I liked him. Did you have the same sense you had the option of a monogamous did you have the sense you had the option of a monogamous relationship? She said no. Okay. Okay, so what? I mean, so far, no harm, no foul. The man is telling you he is seeing multiple women. You clearly are on that type of time. Okay, but you on that type of time, even with how you even met him, the fact that you've been with 50 Cent. So you on that type of time. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You on that type of time. So the prosecutor saying, did you have the sense you had the option of a monogamous relationship? Let's not do that. Let's not act like either one of these people are in the like, oh, I was looking for love and I wanted to sell. That's not what either one of these people. This is not the type of time either one of these people is on. So let's not act like that. Prosecution trying to answer that question. No. Okay. Prosecutor said, until when did you continue dating Sean? She said, until his arrest. Any breaks? Two, the second in October 23 for 4 months. When did you get back together? February 2024. How public were you? It was private. I bet it was private. With 50 Cent being your son's father, I bet it was private. Did you post your relationship with Sean on your social media? Only once. Where did you move? From the East Coast to LA. He gave me $6,000 for a moving trip. Prosecutor, in 2021, February to May, how often did you see him? Every other week. Girl. Someone said, no choice. You are, of course, seeing Diddy, and not minding is what opens the door to what he inflicts. This is a build up to something bigger. He is on trial for being a player. Someone said, a certain rapper will definitely melt down today. Yes. Someone else said, I swear this man must have some charm he uses to keep these women. This is not about charm. This is not about charm. Look at Diddy. If Diddy was the most charming man without his riches and fame, these women would not be doing what they're doing. This particular woman, if it's who we believe this particular woman is, she's already used to mixing it up with these high profile rappers, rich, famous, and all that comes along with that. This is not some kind of, oh, he just knows how to charm and swoon. Not with this one. I know it isn't. Might apply to some others too, but I'm just saying. Now, I stand 10 toes down on that, while I will also say that, though, does not justify or make it okay for him to do anything that's not consensual. Can we be clear on that? Can we be clear on that? But we're not going to act like these are people out here looking for love. Everybody's looking for something that they could get out of this situation. Let's keep it a buck. Somebody said, wow, he was actually honest for once. Someone said, has Sean told a lie? You liked him, you liked the lifestyle, you liked X, he left you alone because of 50. Let's see what else somebody's saying. Let him cook. Is this 50 baby mama? Is this 50's baby mama? Someone said, nah, girl, you like the money. $10,000. Why is he always giving you cash? All right, hold on 1 second. I have got to take this call. Just 1 second, y'all. Hold on, Victoria. All right, y'all. I'm so sorry I had to put y'all on hold for a second because that is my daughter. And my world stops for my daughter, honey. All right, so let's get back to this thing. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Right now? This is, God, y'all, this is 50 Cent's baby mama. Okay, so we left off with the testimony. She said she moved from the East Coast to LA. He gave her $6,000 for a moving trip. The prosecutor said in 2021, February to May, how often did you see him? She said every other week. Prosecutor, what did he give you? Jane said he was sweet. He would give me money here and there. Prosecutor, cash, wires? She said both. Prosecutor, how often did you use drugs? Every time I saw Sean, ecstasy, Molly, cocaine, K or ketamine, Molly, enhanced like ecstasy, sexual. And he didn't force the drugs down your throat. Not at this point anyway, if that's what you're going to allege later. Jane said, horny cocaine, sexual horny cocaine. It made me feel alert. I didn't like K. The walls were closing in. Prosecutor, in what context did Sean give you drugs? When we were having sex? What did you learn? So many things. How he liked to have pornography playing. Jane, he liked me in lingerie and with high-end stripper shoes. I was to put baby oil all over my body and his. Prosecutor, what type of rooms? In his bedroom. Prosecutor, how was it lit? We'd have red lights on. How did you feel? Jane, I loved them. Okay. Okay. Somebody said no white glade candles, no freak offs. Somebody said, were the red stripper shoes in the closet found in the raid hers? Somebody else said, wondering if they will be trying to build a narrative into this becoming prostitution. This far, it seems like mutual sexual attraction. If he was grooming her, he was doing it smoothly. This is not grooming. This is not grooming. This is a good thing for Diddy. It shows that baby oil or having red lights on wasn't something unique to freak offs. Okay. I have to think about that for a second. Let's see what else. Someone said the pattern is important not only for RICO but also for sex trafficking. What pattern? What pattern? Because right now all I'm seeing is somebody. I mean, they're doing illegal drugs, of course, that's for sure. They're not selling or distributing drugs, and he's not forcing the drugs on her. Not according to her testimony that she's given so far. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. You didn't love him or yourself. Shake my head. Baby all has entered the chat. She is 100% corroborating everything she has said. Wow, no lies detected. Somebody else said red light special. Did he really mess up 50 mind up real? I don't know what they were trying to say. Somebody else said, where's the crime? Where's the crime? Where is the crime? Wow. Somebody said waste of time. Somebody else said, and compulsory baby oil enters the chat. All right, let's go back up and see what else we got from presumably 50 Cent baby mama. Let's see what else we got. Okay, so many things. How he liked to have pornography playing. Okay, so we write that we'd have red lights on. How did you feel? She said, I loved them. Okay. All right, let's scroll down a little bit more. Comey said, May of 2021, what happened? I remember that when we would watch pornography, we would have a lot more fantasy conversation. Prosecutor, do you need a break, Jane? Girl, Jane says, no. We would search things on the website he wanted me to fantasize. Okay. Prosecutor, in May 2025, was there objection? Prosecutor, on May of 2021, I am so sorry. Where were you watching the pornography? Jane said, Mia, I had been awake for 15 hours or 24. I don't know why that came in. Prosecutor, what drugs? Jane, ecstasy and Molly. He said I can make it happen. What can make it happen? Maybe something they were watching. Maybe something they were watching. Wow. Wow. Y'all know 50 Cent is about to go for full custody of that kid. Y'all know it. Y'all know it. Oh boy, 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 boy. I am just like imagining what 50 Cent is going to do, say. Would it not be hilarious if this is the time where 50 Cent is quiet? Would that not be funny? Would that not be funny? Because 50 Cent pops off at anything. 50 Cent has been trolling Diddy. He has been trolling Diddy. Somebody created some AI image with him wearing a free Diddy shirt. He reposted it on his page. He just said the other day he's going to reach out to Donald Trump and he's going to make sure that Donald Trump knows every bad thing that Diddy has ever said about him before he could really make a decision on whether or not to pardon him. They're not friends at all. I think 50 Cent was supposed to be doing some documentary too about Diddy, and I don't know if that ever went anywhere or what, but bottom line, when she said they don't get along, they don't get along. And now they said Jane is supposed to be on the stand for days. Hmm. We'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna put you all on a quick hold one more time, just one. Okay, my apologies. Whew. Thought I heard somebody at the door. Okay. All right, let's go back and see where we are with this testimony. Mm, 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 mm. Okay. All right. Why did you say okay? Jane said, I thought he was playing into the fantasy, but when I came out of the bathroom, he was staring into his phone, really serious. He said, it can happen tonight. Prosecutor, how did you react? I was like, tonight? Then okay. Jane, then we were in a hotel. I saw the assistant setting up the room. The lights were already red. Prosecutor, do you remember which assistants? Jane, I don't. He said there's someone coming. He knows the guy. I was super nervous listening in. Who did you think the guy was? Jane said the fantasy guy. What did you think would start happening? Sexual things between me and the fantasy guy. He arrives and they are talking. Prosecutor, it was a regular hotel room or a suite? She said a suite. Mm-mm-mm. Wow. Somebody said, this is finna be a bombshell watch. Somebody said, what a crappy mother. Somebody said, Puff is a cuck, not a crime boss. Somebody said, the fantasy guy, Diddy pimping. Somebody said, she didn't get into this for the money. This is very disturbing. Someone else said, bro, how you have a baby with 50 Cent and go get. Oh. Ooh. I'm not going to read this comment. But did y'all see this comment? Did y'all see this comment? I, if this jury, it's no way this jury is not going to know after they leave this courtroom today that this is 50 Cent's baby mama. It is no way they're not going to know that. Okay. He said there's someone coming. He knows the guy. I was super nervous listening in. Prosecutor, who did you think the guy was? Jane said the fantasy guy. What did you think would start happening? Sexual things between me and the fantasy guy. He arrives and they are talking. It was a regular hotel room or a suite. She said a suite. What did you do? She said, I said hello to everyone. I saw Don. Who is Don? One of the entertainers. Prosecutor publishes the photo to the jury, not shown in the gallery, no personal information on it. Presumably, Jules was shown, and the bookseller. Mm. Wow. All right, so let's see what else it has. Um, Let me back up just a little bit. Okay, we're still waiting for an update. Someone said, "Is her child a girl? I hope she fights to never allow her daughter to go." Oh, but I said, "Okay, dear pro and anti-Diddy folks, I need us all to snap out of the erotic visualization and continue fighting each other. This team made us forget that we were enemies. This continues to support the Some of these people I don't think understand what is happening right now. 50 reading the text from the trial like, oh my. Jules again. Someone said this is going from 0 to 100 fast. Jules must have loved his life getting to have sex with all these hot women Diddy seeing. Mm, 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 mm. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. So we're going to scroll up and see where we are with the testimony. I can't wait to see what Twitter is even just saying about what's going on right now. Let's see. So the picture joke. Prosecutor says, "What's next?" Jane said, "I was on the couch with my robe. My legs were crossed. I was nervous. What happened next?" Sean said to stand up. I did and started to dance to get my nerve up. What was Don wearing? His underwear. Girl. Girl. And how I'm going with, well, based off of how she's testifying, at this point, everything is consensual. At this point, everything is consensual. May not be your lifestyle, may not be your speed, okay? Definitely not mine. However, this is what they were into. This is what he was definitely into. He asked her to participate. She said yes, regardless of the reason. Because I don't want to hear, oh, well, she just did that because no. She has not said anything at this point about him physically abusing her or anything. At this point of their story, according to her testimony, she has consented. She has consented at this point. Now, we know what Diddy, things could go the other direction real fast, but all I'm saying is, let's not, in order to keep whatever narrative we want to keep, you can want Diddy to go to jail because Diddy has legitimate reasons to be in jail, in my opinion. I can be 10 toes down with wanting Diddy to go to jail, and that doesn't mean now everything I got to see through that lens. Even when things are not like what we're seeing right now with this Jane, aka Diddy Mama. Everything right now, up until this point that she has described, is consensual. The taking of the drugs, the hooking up now with this Jules sex worker sex fantasy thing, this is still consensual at this point based off of her testimony. All right, let's go a little bit further. Okay. Prosecutor, what was Sean doing? Touching himself. Was he masturbating? Jane said yes. Was he talking? What was he saying? Being encouraging and sweet. I was ready to speed things up a bit. What do you mean? Get it done. Oh, now she crying. Girl. 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 Somebody said, man, I would like to see the look on 50's face right now. That's his baby mama, bruh. Someone said pattern of behavior relevant. I can't even mentally process that right now. I'm just stuck on the fact of who this is. Okay. Someone said that's why 50 is going to Trump to make sure Diddy don't get out. This is 50 Cent baby mama on the stand. I know it. Okay. Maybe I'll be better after she tests, but right now I'm so stuck on that. I'm so stuck on the fact that this is 50 Cent's baby mama, and I am so stuck on all the hoops they jumped through, talking about keeping her anonymous, keeping her anonymous when she got on the stand and she said enough in the first few sentences where all of us, I know who's a part of the culture for sure. All of us was like, girl, this is 50 Cent's baby mama. What? Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Whew. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm. But you agreed. That's it. That crying that she's doing on the stand right now doesn't do anything for me right now. Don't cry. Everything that you've testified to up until this point are things that you agreed to do. You didn't say anything about him beating you to make you do it. He didn't force you to do it. You agreed to do it. And now you understand crying. I do not accept it. I do not accept it. So let's see as she goes further. But right now, girl, stop. Girl, stop. Just stop. Okay. All right. Let's go back up and see. Whew. Let's go back up and see what else is happening right now with this testimony. Okay. Prosecutor, what did you ask for? Jane said, a condom. She said, what did Sean say? He said that these guys get tested at the time. Later, did Don leave? Jane said, yes. Then Sean and I made love. The next day, I went home. Prosecutor, any boat trip? She said, a nice yacht day. A woman who respects herself cannot do this in a sober state. Drugs contributed. He knew this. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. We are not going to act like women are incapable of saying yes or no. At this point in her testimony, he did not force drugs on her. If somebody comes in right now and says, Sandy, would you like to try this pink powder? And I take it and try it. Did they force me into taking it? Do I get to go to court and say, well, when they asked me that, they knew that I was like, had been depressed and I had been struggling with some things. So they really victimized me because they knew that when they offered that to me, that I was very vulnerable. No. Even if that is true, no, that does not equal force. It does not. I'm sorry. It doesn't. Okay, let's go on. Somebody else said, was she forced or down for it? Based on her testimony at this point, she was down for it. She was not forced. She was not forced. Whew, me oh my. Okay, let's see what else is out here. Okay. So the prosecutor said, how did you feel? She said, I felt exhilarated. It was taboo. I had a good time with my partner. Prosecutor, did you think you'd do it again? She said, no, or maybe a few times, something taboo. Prosecutor, how did things change? She said it opened a Pandora's box. So I will give her credit for not being up here on the stand talking about, oh, I didn't really want to do it, and blah, blah, blah. She was like, nah, she felt exhilarated. I appreciate that honesty. I felt exhilarated. It was taboo. I had a good time with my partner. Did you think you'd do it again? She said no, or maybe a few times. Something taboo. How did things change? It opened up Pandora's box. Okay. Okay. Someone said, oh, she wanted, oh, I can't say that. Someone said, starting to think the prosecution getting hot by all this freaky talk. They want every detail. Someone else said, multiple women in the Diddy case are now describing the same disturbing pattern. Grooming. This is not grooming. This is not grooming. This is not grooming. You have a grown woman who, and y'all know this is 50 Cent baby mama, okay? You have a grown woman who has said on the witness stand how she met him, told, didn't know if it was smart for them to really, go there because, he don't like her father. He does not like her son's father, 50 Cent, okay? Um, and that, it just could get tricky. Nevertheless, they were on their first date was 5 days full of all kind of drugs. She said, he had the drugs. He offered. She did not say. He said, "Take this," or stuffing it down her throat, or forcing her to take the drugs by whatever type of abuse. That's not what happened. That is not what she described. They were doing all kind of sexual things with pornography. He said, "I can make this real." He was talking about the freak off thing. She said, "Oh, she was a little nervous about it, but she agreed." And then they asked her how she felt afterwards. She said she felt exhilarated. They asked her, would she do it again? She said, no, well, maybe a few times, because she liked it because it was taboo. Okay. Then she said that the prosecutor asked her another question about it, and she said it opened Pandora's box. Now, maybe her testimony at this point is getting ready to go somewhere where it's going to be something other than consensual. But at this point, this is not grooming. First of all, it's not grooming. This is a good and grown woman. This is not grooming. And this is a woman who decided to do these things. Like I said, we can't be in such a hurry to say Diddy is guilty of whatever, because Diddy is guilty of a lot. Make no mistake about it. But we can't be in such a hurry with that narrative that when you see a grown ass woman who is making decisions to participate in certain things, that we say, oh, she had to be, coerced, or, it was the drugs. She voluntarily took the drugs. She's on the witness stand right now talking about how it made her feel and how she preferred some over others because of, how it made the touch feel different. She voluntarily took the drugs. So this comment right here, like, no, this is not grooming. She was not forced. Now we're gonna see where she goes, but right now, based off of her testimony, that is not what happened. That is not what happened at this point. Okay, again, the prosecutors asked her, "How did you feel?" She said, "I felt exhilarated. It was taboo. I had a good time with my partner." Prosecutor, "Did you think you'd do it again?" She said, "No, or maybe a few times. Something taboo." How did things change? She said it opened a Pandora's box. There was so much of it afterwards, too much of it. Sound like Cassie now. Cassie, in her own words on the stand, said at one point about the freak offs, she had a bigger problem with just the frequency of the freak offs at one point. Not that they were having freak offs, but the frequency of the freak offs became a problem for her. Prosecutor asked how often. She said all the time. I went alone. Prosecutor, later, did you tell him you did not want it? She said yes. In writing or verbally? She said both, many times. Okay. I said, this person said, okay, now we're getting somewhere, but why did you continue to do it? This is what I need to see. And I think Cassie, in some of her testimony, she did some of this, right? Just by showing messages to say, or giving us a situation where he sat beside her on the plane, showed her some of the sex tapes, and then told her that night he wanted to freak off. She suggested that was like his threat to her, that if you don't act right, I'm gonna release these sex tapes and I want to freak off tonight. Okay, so if you believe that, then I could see definitely saying, okay, that is not a situation where she wanted it. That was a matter of coercion because he used this, this sex tape as a threat, as blackmail. Get it. It to me is not coercion. It is not coercion. if you say, I don't want to do freak offs anymore, right? And he's like, come on, let's do it. And he scheduled ones, and then you say, okay, fine, I'll do it, but I really don't want to do this. Is that coercion? And I'm talking about with a full grown person. Is that coercion? If she says on this stand that she didn't want to do it, she thought it was just a date between the two of them. He started giving her drugs. Next thing she know, there's a person in the room and all that. Now then I say, okay, now did it? You done went down the wrong road. Because if she tells you no, and you didn't got her all effed up and on drugs and stuff, because she's down with taking the drugs clearly from her testimony, and then you bring this person in, now that's the situation. But I wish people would stop. I know this whole thing is very sensitive, but I wish people would just stop rubber stamping these scenarios as if they are all one thing, because they are not. Jane, who we believe is 50 Cent baby mama, was fully on board. Now we're getting into what she is saying is Pandora's box. And understanding who Diddy is, it could very well go wrong real quick and go left real quick, and he started doing things that are violating. We have not gotten there yet with Jane. Okay, so let's just see where we go. But no, I'm not these comments where people, oh, look at what he's no. That has not been proven yet with Jane. Okay. All right, let's see where testimony goes. Prosecutor, what did Sean tell you about your rent when you said you did not want to have sex with other men? Jane said that he'd give me maybe 3 more months. Prosecutor, how did you feel? She said frustrated and obligated. Prosecutor, obligated to do what? The defense objects. So, okay, so now you are telling me you moved out to LA to be with Diddy. He's obviously paying for your place similar to how he paid for Cassie's, right? Who knows how many women places he ended up paying for. And he's telling you, according to your testimony, that if you don't continue with this freak offs, he's going to give you like 3 more months where he'll pay your rent, but then you on your own. Now, I'm going to believe that if you are you 50 Cent's baby mama, that's who we think this is, then I know you're getting some kind of money, even if it's just child support or whatever. So we don't know what people's financial situations are, but that would just make me believe you would not be on the street. Because how could you be on the street? And you are the mother of 50 Cent's, or one of the mothers of 50 Cent's children, and this is an underage child. I need to know more. Okay. Someone said, bet that didn't go well for her. Somebody said he really likes vulnerable women. But is she vulnerable? Is she vulnerable? Someone else said, in comes the devil incarnate. Sweet comes out, real comes in. Okay. Someone else said, okay, now we're getting somewhere, but why did you continue to do it? Somebody else said, wouldn't take no for an answer. Mr. Take this is a demon. I don't care. No means no. It ain't. We ain't got there yet with this situation. You open portals you couldn't handle. I am sure prosecution don't want to mention some of these things for fear of looking like 10 fall and losing the case. Someone else said, this kind of testimony helps dispel the myth that victims of abuse always resist in dramatic way. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You can debate me in the comments if you like. I'd appreciate it. If you got something to say that might make me see it differently, I'm open to that. But to me, at this point in Jane's story, I don't see a victim yet. I see a person who made choices, and I see a person who has a choice to make. That's what I see at this point of her story. Like I said, I'm sure she's got a lot more to tell us. But at this point, I'm not seeing a victim. I'm not. Okay, let's see if they're still on the sidebar. I'll hop over to CNN right quick and see what kind of updates they have for us. Let's see. They say Jane testified that she initially felt exhilarated by that night. I felt excited. I was happy. It was taboo. It was fun. I had a good time with my partner, she said. She testified that she thought it was something they did just that one time and might do again on a random occasion. I truly felt that night just opened like a Pandora's box in the relationship. It just completely set the tone for our relationship moving forward. She said that night opened a door that she was unable to shut for the remainder of our relationship. Assistant attorney, U.S. attorney, asked her why she wanted to shut the door. She said there was so much of it after, and it was too much of it. And like I said, that does corroborate how Cassie felt about at that point in Cassie's testimony. Not that she didn't want to do it, but she had a problem with how often he wanted to do it. She said that throughout her relationship with Sean Diddy Combs, she only wanted to have sex with him and not other men. Don't do that. See that right there. I know, because at the end of the day, you said yes. He said, okay, I got this thing I'm kind of into. Me and you, we've been doing whatever while we watch this, watching the X-rated stuff, but I can make this real based off of her testimony. He said, I can make this real. He set it up. She was down with it. Okay. She was down with it. So if you were down with it, then you don't then get to say, well, but at the end of the day, I really only wanted to be with him. Girl, that to me does not equal force. I am not going to act like all women are just walking around and don't have a brain and can't say no. I don't care on why you made your choice. You decided in this particular situation right here, you decided at where we are in her testimony, you decided that you were down with it. If she comes and she says later in this testimony, when I said no, he threatened to release our sex tape. Okay. Okay, that's force. That's the things he's being charged with. Okay. I'm with you there. When I said no, all I know is he gave me a drink. It made me feel a certain way, and I really didn't have control of everything. This other man came in. That's force. I'm with you there. If you say I didn't want to do it and he hit me or he whatever jumped on me or whatever and made me say that I would do whatever he wanted, that's force. I'm with you there. If he says, if you don't do this, I'm not going to pay your rent anymore. Now, the law might say that's force. The law probably would say that's coercion. But I'm going to say, girl, you are 50 Cent's baby mama, underage child baby's mama, okay? And even in that moment, first of all, that's what I'm saying that to say, I know you have funding coming in, right? But even in that moment, I don't want women to think, well, what other choice did I have? You had a choice. Whether it was an uncomfortable choice, whether it was a choice where now you may have to eventually move out of this apartment and you didn't like that. You didn't like the idea of that. You really like your new apartment in LA. Okay. But to act like you didn't have a choice, I'm sorry, I can't. And in that last scenario I gave, I think it could be a situation that, yeah, Diddy, you're gonna go down because that's coercion under RICO, and you should not have done that. So you're gonna go down, and I would still look at her and say, you had a choice, though. And this is where two things can be true. You had a choice. We can't be handicapping people out here and making it seem like all scenarios are the same, because all scenarios are not the same. Jane testified that Combs paid, and I'm reading from the CNN update at this point. Jane testified that Diddy paid the rent for her home. When she tried to tell him she didn't want to have sex with him or with other men, Combs would say, if you want to break up, that's fine. And then say he wouldn't pay rent for a woman he wasn't seeing. Jane testified that she wasn't trying to break up in those conversations. She was just trying to stop having sex with other men. I felt frustrated, Jane said, adding that she felt obligated to perform these nights for him. I've said all I got to say about that at this point. Let me go back to the testimony on X to see what we have here. Okay, so where we left off, she said, "What did Sean tell you about your rent when you said you did not want to have sex with other men?" She said that he'd give me maybe 3 more months. And prosecutor said, "How did you feel?" Jane said, "Frustrated, obligated." Obligated to do what? The defense objects. Okay. Prosecutor, between 2023 to the time of his arrest, did he pay your rent and make you feel obligated to have sex with other men? She said, "Yes." What did you two call this night? Debaucheries or hotel nights? How often did you see him? Jane said, "Often." Prosecutor, every time you'd see him, did you have hotel nights? She said, "Yes. Even though we'd spend a day or two together after, it all felt like a hotel night." Prosecutor, who decided when? She said, "Sean, on short notice. I always had childcare ready." Lord have mercy. "Often. Call me again," said the prosecutor. Said, "Every time you'd see him, did you have hotel nights?" She said, "Yes. Even though we'd spend a day or two together after, it all felt like a hotel night." Who decided when? She said, "Sean, on short nights, I always had childcare ready." Jane, she said, "I was always put together." Prosecutor, what do you mean? She said, "My hair, my nails, my tan, he wanted me beautiful." Prosecutor, did you go out with friends? She said, "Not after a trip in summer of 2022. He was dismissive. In the summer of 2021, she said, to France. Okay. Jane said, "I went to the south of France with my friends. He was angry in the voice notes." Prosecutor, what did he want? Who did he want you to look? Or how? I guess he meant how. How did he want you to look? Jane said, "Straight hair, ponytail when we had sex. He wanted me to pierce." Where? She said, "My nipples." And then the prosecutor said, "We'll talk about that." The prosecutor then says, between 2021 and the break in 2023, how much money did you make? When money did you make and how? Social media posts, but that went down because my presence went down. I was focused on Sean. He would give me money here and there. Prosecutor, how much at one time? Jane said $20,000. Okay. How did your presence go down if your relationship was private? Well, that's a good question. I guess though she's saying maybe her posts were less frequent. I'm guessing is what she's saying. Um Somebody else said, "Oh man." That was somebody else said, You're not ugly, fellows, you just broke." Somebody else said, "How thoughtful of him. She's gonna be roasted on cross. Who gets the honor, Steele or Westmoreland?" Oh, honey. Honey. I want it to be Brian Steele. I want it to be Brian Steele. Like I said, we're still early on in her testimony, and perhaps she's going to start saying some stuff to make me say, okay. But right now, I'm not feeling it. Okay. So and so's child support arrangement with, and this is blocked out, 50 Cent, was initially high, but was later significantly reduced. 50 Cent initially paid $33,000 per month, but after a court reassessment, this was reduced to $6,700 per month. Now, if that is true, and I don't know if that's true, okay, but if that is true, now that is like that's not enough money. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. that he only had to pay $6,700 per month. I need to Google and check on that. I need to Google and check on that. This is where I wish I could like multitask better. Okay, let's see if we have. Okay. Did you tell him you wanted to make your own money? She said, when OnlyFans got big, I told him I wanted to do it like one of my model friends. He gave me his hesitant energy, like, no. What is OnlyFans? She said, subscribe to models. I would do nudity. Okay. Let's see if we have any. All right. So we are waiting on an update from there. Let me see if we have anything else on CNN. Oh man, I'm even gonna check the Washington Post. I want to see if the Washington Post says anything about 50 Cent. Let me just check and scroll. Okay. Uh, they look mainstream media don't have to say 50 Cent, but you know, honey, this is yeah, this is gone. The genie is out of the bottle, as they say. Let me, while I am waiting for them to update, let me check and see. Maybe they have something out here. Okay. Someone said so she couldn't do that, but only when he directed and was in charge. I'm blown control freak to the highest degree. Someone said, LOL, he stopped you from doing porn. What a monster. Somebody else said, yo, OMFG, what is going on today? Wow. Okay. I don't have time to entertain any of that, child. Somebody said, I still can't get over that she knew her child's father didn't like him, but still gave Diddy all the ammunition against 50. Well, I don't know. Well, maybe from a man to man thing, you would consider that ammunition. Somebody said, wanted to do your own porno. hmm Someone else said he wanted to possess her. Okay. Someone said a of 304, throw this case away. As of 304, throw this case away. Oh, throw this case away. Man. Somebody said he stepped down from doing, he stopped you from doing OnlyFans. Wow. Someone said, now, girl, you telling us you are without us having you. Now, girl, you telling us who you are without us having to guess. Yes. Yes. That's what's blowing my mind. All of this about, oh, we got to protect Jane. We can't let Jane's identity get known. Like, they so easily figured out who Mia was. We got to protect Jane. We got to protect Jane. I'm like, yeah, y'all protect Jane. And you tell me Jane gets on the stand, and within the first few moments of her testimony, it is clear that this is 50 Cent's baby mama. By her own words. Her own words. Wow. Wow. Okay. Uh okay, so she said, "What is on?" The prosecutor asked her, "What is OnlyFans?" She said, "Subscribe to models. I do nudity, but no sex acts." She said, "Right, but he didn't approve." Prosecutor, why did you feel you needed his approval? I felt he was my boyfriend. Prosecutor, sealed exhibit. What is this? She said, my lease of April, dated April 4th, 2023. Prosecutor, how much was the rent each month? Jane, $10,000. Sean said, let's do a love contract. It was a flirty thing. He asked, how much allowance did I want going forward? I said 15. He said 10,000. Yes, I wanted a beautiful home for balance. Girl, you wanted a beautiful home for balance. You wanted a beautiful home for balance. If you love wealth better than liberty, the trank. Okay, no, that's an ad. Do not want to read that. A sugar daddy contract. They said, girl, you seriously broke even on just the rent. You could have invested in, okay, whatever that is. I do not know what that is. Okay, let's go back. I wanted a beautiful home for balance. Somebody said most men wouldn't like their partner doing that. I'm stopping my girl from doing OnlyFans too. The fuck, LOL. Somebody else said sex trafficking. Somebody else said both of these women felt like he was their boyfriend when really he was their pimp, and to him they were nothing more than sexual vessels. I believe that for sure. So it wasn't because he forced you, did it? It wasn't because he forced you. You did it because you were in a relationship, boyfriend or sugar daddy. Is it illegal to be a sugar daddy? Somebody said, baby, he was your pimp. Somebody said, made a living off handouts from men and people supporting her like she's an inspirational figure. Somebody said, remember, no Rico, he keeps his money. This is not a Rico, this is his girl, Cassie. Someone said, a boyfriend that was dating your friend. Got it. So people holding on to how she opened up her testimony. It said boyfriend. Cassie had his pee in her mouth and she thought she was going to marry him. These women need to start a Diddy support group. And I'm with that. I'm with that. I am with that. Let me say it again for the people in the back. I don't have any problem at all with Diddy going to prison. I actually hope Diddy go to prison because Diddy, I know, committed a lot of these crimes that they have mentioned during this trial on their way to trying to support a RICO, although I don't see no criminal enterprise. But some of these individual crimes they've discussed, oh, I believe Diddy did that. So I don't have any problem with him going to prison. So that's true. What is also true is that in some of these instances, these women were willing to sell their body, their soul, their safety in some instances because they wanted to be with this man. And I'm talking about in the case of Jane, this is before, so far, she hasn't mentioned any violence to us so far. She hasn't mentioned anything like that at all. It's just the sex, the drugs, the lifestyle. She was into it. She was down with it. She was down with the arrangement. Okay. So I'm not going to act like that this is a situation where, well, what more could you expect? I mean, she's just a woman. I will not, I reject that. This woman made some choices. I digress. Okay. She made some choices. Now when I think about like that videotape with Cassie in the hotel, that's not a choice. He thrown on the ground, kicking her, stomping her, whatever. That's domestic violence. Diddy's guilty of that. He's not being charged with that in this federal case. But is he guilty of domestic violence? Absolutely. Wish he was able to get state charges for that. So when Trump gives him the pardon, he'd still be held accountable for that. So I'm just saying, I think it's so important that at least some of us be able to look at these scenarios in a nuanced way. They are not all the same. All the situations are not the same. And women are not just walking around like some a big old dumb block up in their head instead of a brain and can't and are unable. They're just walking around as a victim. And I'm saying this specifically in the situations where the woman did consent. She did consent. If my husband comes home right now and says, hey, I've been thinking about this, I want us to get into this, and let's say I'm not with it, but he's asking and he's asking and he's asking, and I eventually say, okay, fine, we'll do it. Is that force? Is that force? If then after I do it once, now he wants to make it a regular part of the thing, and I just, since I want to keep him happy, I keep doing it. Is that force? And in that situation, he's not blackmailing me, he's not threatening me, he's not, drugging me where I can't really give consent. He's not doing all of that. But because I want to be with him, I say yes. I want to make him happy. So I say yes. Is that force? Is that force? Is that force in a way that it should be described legally? Is that force? It may be immoral, but is that force? Okay. Let me keep going. Uh all right. I think I must have missed something. Let me go back a little bit. Okay, so we left off with she said she wanted a beautiful home for balance. The prosecutor said, "What's this?" She said, "A wire transfer." Prosecutor said, "To pay your rent?" She said, "Yes." Who got you plane tickets to fly to the hotel night? Jane said, "His travel agent, Jess, or KK." KK, you have to bring your ass to the front of the room, girl, because you either gonna comply with the government and send Diddy to prison for a long, 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 long time, or you will be charged as a co-conspirator. Let's see if we have anything else. Prosecutor, what were the hotel suites like? She said red lights, sheet everywhere for the excessive use of baby oil. Prosecutor, how many bottles? Objection. Sustained. Per hotel night, 2 dozen bottles or more. Man, he was into what he was into. He was definitely into what he was into. Somebody else said KK, most infamous name in this trial. I agree. And right after her, D Rock. Somebody said bingo, amigo. Somebody said KK popping up like a groundhog repeatedly. Facts. Facts. Someone said, let me this was long ago. Someone said criminal enterprise was established weeks ago, but name dropping Jess and KK as the ones transporting her to and from these commercial sex acts builds it further. Okay, somebody said was the contract in writing? If not, defense will come for her heavy. Okay. KK again. They turned this man bedroom into a RICO case. Wow. Mm. Someone said, so he basically paid her for her love services, right? If he wasn't arrested, they would be having a hotel night tonight. Someone else said 13 minutes left for the day. Is it that almost that time? Wow. It is almost that time. Someone said, where is KK, damn it? Was she subpoenaed? I know that's right. So they labeling her a sex worker, I assume. That's Rico. She is definitely not a sex worker. So I don't know what they're trying to do. KK was loyal to the end. They need to subpoena KK. Who got you the plane tickets to fly to the hotel nights? His travel agent, Jess or KK? Mm, wow. This is just I'm kind of let me go. Let me go back to the testimony because I am just like so speechless right now. Okay. Okay. So we left off with the prosecutor saying how many bottles, talking about baby oil. And then he said per hotel night, she said 2 dozen bottles or more. The prosecutor said this night, an exhibit not shown to the gallery. Where was the hotel night? She said in my apartment. Prosecutor, what did you wear during these hotel nights? She said lingerie, high stripper shoes. Prosecutor, what would you and the other man do first? Object, rephrase. Okay, we'll see. Okay. Mm-mm-mm. Somebody said, I feel like Diddy ain't even embarrassed. To be honest, I don't think he's embarrassed at all. I think he's slightly glad it's out. So when he gets off, because I do think he feels that's going to happen, he can finally be free Diddy. That's an excessive usage of baby oil. Somebody else said that wasn't no regular baby oil. I bet some of it was drugged. Sounds ritualistic to me. Somebody said 24 bottles of baby oil is a bit much, my G. Someone else said, somewhere I feel sad for young Diddy. The baby oil fetish came from somewhere. We don't know what kind of trauma he might have experienced. Somebody said, what was in the baby oil? What the FOMG? Somebody else said, Diddy was in the room making human slippers. Somebody said, Diddy was in the room making human slipper slides. Somebody else said, I hope Diddy had stock in Johnson Johnson. Oh, let's go back up and see if we have any other testimony. I know court is about to wrap for sure. Prosecutor said, what were the hotel suites like? She said, okay, we read that part. We read that part. Let me come on down. All right. We were probably still waiting. Yep. Did you wear during the hotel night? She said the stripper shoes. Well, those stripper shoes that they found in the raid in Miami? Well, I guess those might have belonged to 50 Cent's baby mama. This is just, if this so-called KK doesn't testify for anyone, this case is a psyop. Her name is everywhere. That is so true. Somebody said she's gonna say basically the same thing Cassie did about how they rode baby all on each other, then did oral, then finally actually did it. Somebody said, how many with go down if their bedroom is allowed in court? How many would go down if their bedroom is allowed in court? Me, I'm copping out. Okay. Somebody said, at your place where your kid sleeps at night, diabolical. Somebody else said, let's see, this night. Okay, Jane in my apartment. This night, I want to see my apartment. Okay. Someone else said Diddy is the final boss of Freaky. Really hard to be sympathetic. It is really hard to be sympathetic here. And so far, it's really hard to be sympathetic to Jane, aka 50 Cent baby mama. BJ, you see this right? I'm also on your live. What she wear damn now? Okay. Man, social media is gonna be on fire tonight. On fire tonight. All right, let's see if we have anything. We're still waiting. Let me go over to CNN and read to y'all what they're saying there. Jane testified that between May 2021 and October 2023, she had hotel nights with Sean Diddy Combs in LA, New York, Miami, and Turks and Caicos. Jane usually discussed her travel arrangements with Christina. Now, I need to know, in these different places, did he have male escorts come in? Did the male escorts, when he was in New York, did he use New York male escorts, LA male escorts, Miami, or was he flying them across state lines? Because I don't think I've actually heard that. I've heard he was having freak offs in different places, but I'm trying to understand, did he traffic these sex workers across state lines? That's what I'm trying to understand. Jane testified, okay, she talked about this happening in Los Angeles, New York, Miami, and Turks and Caicos. Jane usually discussed her travel arrangements with Christina, KK, former chief of staff, his travel agent, or one of Combs' assistants. Combs paid for the travel. Their times together typically followed a pattern, Jane said. The hotel room would be decorated with red lights, music, and bed sheets and blankets covering everything. She said the linens covered everything for the obsessive use of baby oil. They'd go through more than 24 bottles of baby oil in a hotel night. Wow. Jane said her relationship with Sean Diddy Combs affected her ability to work and make income. I would say that when I was with Sean, I was really consumed by him. I was really consumed by Sean. Jane testified she made sure she was always ready for Combs at a moment's notice. She made some money through social media. Jane said, but my presence on social media really declined after I prioritized this relationship. Combs would periodically give her money, typically in amounts ranging from $5,000 to $10,000 if it was cash. Combs would wire her money if it were a larger amount, Jane said. The most he ever gave her at one time was $20,000 when she told him she needed furniture for her home, which he also paid for. At one point, Jane proposed the idea of starting an OnlyFans account to make money. She said her friend made $4 million in 1 year, and she thought she could be successful posting content like bikini, lingerie, or nude photos. She wasn't planning to post sexual activity, Jane said, but Combs was hesitant and told her to wait. Jane says Combs often gave little notice before meetings. She kept herself ready for him. Okay, we've already talked about that. Ooh, Jane. Jane. Okay, let's see if we have any other update at this point. Okay, so no, we just still don't have an update at this point. I am going to, let's see. I want to Google and see what's her name. Okay, I know what her real name is. Let me see. I'm going to see if we can find out how much is she getting in child support. Let's see if there's anything out here. Because somebody posted that initially she was getting $33,000 a month, but then 50 took her back to court and it got reduced down to 6,000, a little over 6,000, maybe close to 7. And I don't know that if that is true. I mean, I just can't see a judge doing that, but who knows? Oh, it might be true. Let me see. They said he should pay $6,700 a month. That's a staggering reduction of $33,300 per month. This epic reduction has become one of the most emphasis L's in celebrity history, leaving many in awe of 50 Cent's savvy move. Let me go. Uh, let's see. He said 50 Cent claims ex Daphne Joy had hopes of having a second child, but started receiving money from Diddy after playing. What? Hold on. What is this? When was this written? This was written in March. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Let me see. All right, while we're waiting on an update, let me just, and I'll share this page with y'all. Whew, what a time, what a time, what a time. What a time. Okay, let's share the screen here for a moment. Where is the thing? Come on. Here we go. All right, so you all should be able to see the article now. All right. Go away, commercial. Okay, so 50 Cent claims ex Daphne Joy had hopes of having a second child, but started receiving money from Diddy after the plan failed. Okay. So trying to wait and see if they had a video here. The war between 50 Cent and his ex Daphne Joy rages on. The Indie Club rapper hit back at the OnlyFans model's claims that she moved to New York so he could have the opportunity to be a father to their son, Sire, claiming instead Joy followed him with hopes of having a second child together. You moved a mile away in hopes of, hold on. Let me play this to see if it has any.
Combs' alleged sex worker in a new lawsuit. Daphne was named in Rodney Jones, aka Little Rod's $30 million case against his former employer, Diddy. Page Six got a hold of court documents claiming the OnlyFans model was a sex worker involved in the rapper's alleged sex trafficking ring. She was reportedly one of 3 women he bragged about paying a monthly stipend for their sex work. Daphne dated 50 Cent for a year in 2011, and they welcomed a son in September of 2012 before they split. She has not spoken out about Little Rod's claims, but Diddy's team has adamantly denied all of the producer's allegations. The suit comes just days after the rapper's LA and Miami homes were raided by Homeland Security. 50 Cent has been weighing in on Instagram and posted a photo with the caption, "I didn't know you was a sex worker, you little sex worker," and added, "This is a movie." This all follows the multiple lawsuits that were recently filed against Diddy, including allegations of assault and human trafficking, all of which he has denied.
So Jane, all this time, has been Daphne Joy. Okay, let's see. The Indie Club rapper hit back at the OnlyFans model's claims that she moved to New York so he could have the opportunity to be a father to their son, claiming instead Joy followed him with the hopes of, "You moved a mile away in hopes of having another baby with me, but I was busy," he wrote on Instagram Thursday evening alongside a paparazzi photo of Joy and Combs together. Okay. And 50 Cent hit back at his ex. There's Daphne Joy with their son. I felt so sorry for the kids and shit like this. So then the article says, so you moved back and then you started receiving money from Brother Love. Now here we are, little sex worker. 50 Cent followed up with a second Instagram post about his current tour sales and wrote, "I made all this money and I'm practicing abstinence. I don't want a little sex worker." Wow. There she is with 50's son. That's 50's son right there. 50 gonna have to get his son. The G Unit Records founder 48 has been on the offense against Joy since her name was mentioned as a purported sex worker in Rodney Lil Rod Jones' $30 million lawsuit against Combs, who allegedly sexually assaulted him. "I didn't know you was a sex worker, you little sex worker, LOL," 50 Cent 48 wrote on Instagram Wednesday alongside 2 photos of himself smoking a cigar in the rain. "Yo, this shit is a movie." The following day, 50 Cent confirmed reports that he was planning to seek sole custody of Sire, who's 11. Lord, child. "It is what it is. See you family in court. Sex worker," he captioned an Instagram for the report. So there he is. There she is with the child. "I am deeply hurt by the lies Rodney Jones lawsuit." The influencer began in the Instagram story Thursday. "The claim that I am a sex worker is 100% false and character assassination." She noted that she would be hiring an attorney to explore all legal remedies against Jones and his lawyer. Joy went on to accuse the power actor of rape and physical abuse, but 50 Cent denied her claims in a statement via his rep. "The most recent accusations by Daphne Joy are clearly in response to my decision to seek sole custody of my son. My son, Sire, is my main priority, and keeping him in a safe environment is my only focus at this time." Oh boy. Okay, so there's that. But I want to try to get to this child support thing. Let's see if this tells us anything. 50 Cent's child support is legendary. Initially, he was paying a staggering $40,000 a month, an eye-popping $500,000 a year to his baby mama, who claimed it still wasn't enough. In a crazy twist, 50 Cent decided to take matters into his own hands and headed to family court to revisit the child support terms. The verdict, a jaw-dropping reduction to just $6,700 a month. That's an incredible decrease of $33,000 each month. The huge change has become one of the most talked about stories in celebrity history, highlighting 50 Cent's clever strategy and leaving everyone amazed. Wow. Wow. $6,700. That's wow. So when she was getting the 40,000, somebody else said 30 something thousand. She was still saying that wasn't enough. Went to court and now he's paying 6,700 a month, which is like nothing to him at all. The little baby is cute. Little boy is so cute. Uh Let me see if I can see anything else about this child support. Hell, that might be enough. He should pay $6,700. He should pay $6,700 a month. That's a staggering reduction of $33,300 per month. That is crazy. That is crazy. She should have been satisfied with the money she was getting. Okay, let's see if we have any other update. Okay, yeah, let's go back. All right. So, hold on one second. All right, so go back up. The prosecutor said, what did you wear during these hotel nights? She said lingerie, high stripper shoes. What would you and the other man do first? Comey said, prosecutor, who would you greet? Jane said, the entertainer. I was on drugs. Sean told me to touch myself, then the sex. Prosecutor, forgive me for asking, but oral or intercourse? Oral, later I will be with Sean. Prosecutor, would you clean up the ejaculate? She said no. Prosecutor, how long were the hotel nights? She said 20 or 30 hours. Prosecutor, we could break here. The jurors, we may start staying later. Do not speak with each other about this case. All rise. Jane's counsel wants you to remind those in the gallery not to report. Child, you might as well go on with that. Everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows who you are. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'm like, is that a joke? Is that even a joke? What? Someone said it was too easy for the internet to go figure it out. Can't wait to see 50's online reaction. People already telling who she is. That's what I'm like, girl. Man, you can't stop social media. We gonna figure shit out. Might as well stop all this Jane Doe. Yes. And this is before we even knew that she was connected like this to 50 Cent. I mean, even when Mia was up there, I'm like, girl, Mia, people gonna know who you are. They don't even have to see you. We're here. We're here. We're on the outside. We're not in the courtroom. We're getting transcripts. We're getting, well, not transcripts. We're getting threads from reporters inside the courtroom, and we're getting updates from sources like CNN and Washington Post, like what's happening in the courtroom and who's saying what. And from us even reading that, we already knew. Okay, in Mia's situation, we don't know Mia, like she's not, but they gave enough details that it would not be hard to go on social media and figure out who is Mia. Where like these events, dates, places she named, it wouldn't be bad. She's with Diddy, his circle. It wouldn't be easy. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to figure out who Mia is. But Daphne Joy, you get on the stand, you jumping through all these hoops about needing to keep your identity secret. And the first few minutes of you talking on the stage, on the witness stand, you say enough for us to know, wait a minute, is this 50 Cent baby mama? From your words. It's a joke. It is a joke, all of this about, please, let's keep Jane's identity secret. What? What? All right, so Let me see quickly before we end this live today if there's any update. Jury dismissed for the day. Let me see if they say anything because I really want to understand with this multiple city thing. Is he flying people to multiple cities? Jane testified that between May 2021 and October 2023, she had hotel nights for Sean in LA, New York, Miami. Okay, no, none of that tells me what I'm trying to figure out. Like, is he literally flying sex workers across state lines? That's still something I'm trying to understand. Let me check Washington Post before we go. Jane describes her first freak off session. A side effect, the court offers to preserve Jane. We in the press room have a much clearer view of Sean Combs' face. Ordinarily, the closed circuit video feed that live streams the trial around the courthouse shows a split screen of the courtroom, the witness on the stand, and the documents being presented. The government has asked that its evidence not be streamed while Jane testifies, because it includes documents that could identify her and her child. The extra screen real estate means Combs, the gallery, and the attorneys' tables are much easier to see on the courthouse monitors, though the jury and judge are still off camera. Okay. Mm. While his ex-girlfriend testifies against him, Sean Combs has periodically looked over his shoulder toward the jurors. He did so as the woman using the alias Jane described Combs giving her large cash. Okay. Lord have mercy. All right, y'all. This is the end of day 17 of Diddy's trial. I'm so flabbergasted by the fact that I believe this is 50 Cent's baby mama up on the stand that I about forgot anything else that happened today. I would probably say the most interesting thing past that happening today is when the judge had to check Diddy on how he's behaving in court and threatened to remove him out of the court for his trial if he didn't stop, like what he felt almost communicating with the jury. Let's check though before I let you all go. Let's just check what is happening right now. Are you all on the same page I'm on? Let me see. Let me make sure. No, let me get you all to the same page that I'm going to. Oh boy, 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 boy. Okay. Before I end this live today, let's do a quick check just to see what the internet is already doing based off of 50 Cent. Okay. Let's see. Let's try to type in her name first. And see what we get. Okay. Okay. Pretty much all the old stuff. Okay, so far so good. Ooh, let's see if we do Diddy trial. Somebody said, I'm freaking, that's who Jane Doe is. Diddy trial, okay. His biggest ops baby mama. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Diddy trial has me like, okay, let's see what else we got here. So this guy is why 50 Cent, you hate Diddy so much, huh, Curtis, because he smutted your baby mama out and had her open to a place where you could never get her. That explains your jealousy and hatred. Your baby mama was in love with him. Wow. So Diddy was taking care of his girlfriend by giving her allowance. He was paying her flight too. People call it ex trafficking. A lot will change after this case is over. I don't think women are prepared for what's coming. Wow, 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 wow. Mm, 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 mm. So it's some out there, but it's uh not as I think not as flowing as I thought it would be initially. Someone says citizens, the tea is hot all over X today as 50 Cent seems to respond on Instagram to people alluding that Jane, who is currently testifying, is his baby mama. 50 Cent WTF. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Oh, they got 50 Cent baby mama on the stand. They're not fooling nobody. This is just, this is just. And her testimony so far to me too is also, uh, I haven't heard anything yet from her testimony that this was forced. So far, I haven't. Floyd was right. He had a baby, but oh. And you know what's interesting because it feels like this trial or this judge is probably just not even in the know. Okay. But if the government thinks that they could put this person on the witness stand and they can control how people talk about her, knowing who she is, what's about to happen now on social media because of it. I wonder what impact this is going to have on the case. Not to mention her initial testimony so far doesn't sound like you know, anything was necessarily done against her will. She was either down with it or made a decision to do it. Y'all, I'm gonna look up 50 Cent one more see before we go. Mm, 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 mm. Jane Doe, aka 50 Cent baby mama Daphne Joy, is taking the stand today in the P. Diddy trial. Mm, mm, mm. Wow. Okay, let me tap out. Let me tap out. Thanks to everybody who dropped by this live today. This was a this was an interesting one today. This one definitely takes the it goes to the top of the list of WTF days during the Diddy trial. This one is at the top of the list. So thank you for dropping by. Please like the video. Please feel free to always drop a comment. I appreciate y'all's support so much, more than you know. This is something that I'm venturing into. I'm new at it, so paying dues right now. I'm staying up here talking for hours, a lot of times just me. And that's okay. I'm getting better at this. I'm learning some things along the way, and I just enjoy the opportunity to do this, and I enjoy anybody who stops by, hangs out with me for a few minutes, uh, likes the video, subscribe, please, if you would like. I appreciate the support. And until the next time, bye, y'all.